Greetings, true believers. Welcome to the latest episode of Yeah, I've Played.
We've played it.
We cat hair flying around. As is usual for my life, I'm surrounded by cat hair. Every time I clap to give myself a little thing. I don't need to do that anymore because we're not syncing audio anymore. We're doing audio directly in the camera now. Mm-hmm. But every time I do that, I just see a giant cloud of cat hair explode. And I go,
releases from
always.
your hands.
Am I just covered in it? But I am Matt Hall, and this is...
Jordan Hill, also covered in cat hair.
And a different cat, though.
Yeah, different cats.
Different cats, yeah. Mm-hmm. People think we're brothers.
I've heard that a few times, and I really don't get that.
I think it's really a testament to poor reading comprehension.
Yeah. I'm also...
You guys had the same fucking last name.
I'm also... Not even. And yeah, I was like close. And I'm also like 8 inches taller than you. Like, maybe not that tall, but still.
You got short bros.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. Usually siblings are within, and we don't look alike.
Okay, that's fair.
We are both white guys, but...
Today we're discussing a game that I played a while ago, and it really made an impact on me, and I said, we have got to turn off the air purifier. And after I turned off the air purifier, I said, we got to do this on the show. And I said, Jordan, play this game.
And I said, on it, and then waited for a couple weeks.
I think it was like 2 months.
It was probably about 2 months from the first time you told me about it. Yeah,
but you did.
I did play it. Played it twice.
You played it twice, and you thought
I fucking thought it was great. I think it's a great game.
Did we say the name of the game?
No, it's called Mouthwashing.
Developed by Wrong Oregon and published by Critical Reflex, who is a very cool publisher right now. I think they're very cool. Buckshot Roulette, Threshold, which I haven't played. I played the demo.
Okay, I haven't played it either.
And Arctic Eggs. All three games I'm very impressed by their craftsmanship and storytelling and everything,
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is like...
And they're just fun games, too. Like, they're just like... Buckshot Roulette is just like a very fun game.
And Mouthwashing is super fun.
Yeah, super fun. Very great. Good times all around.
And you haven't played Arctic Eggs yet, right?
No, I haven't.
All right, I think you'll really have a good time with that.
Okay. I think that was on the list you sent me.
What was the game where you're the guy who has no bones and you're like slinking your way out from under the bed?
Oh, Jesus, what was that called?
Like the Man or something? Or?
I think it was called Man.
Okay.
The Man. Yeah, because you're trying to like rob a home, if I remember right.
I never really played it. I just watched you play it.
That was pretty fun because that was another one like that comes from games like Octodad and like Surgeon Simulator, where like the OGs of that kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like very awkward physics-based games, you know what I mean, that are just goofy.
Arctic Eggs is in that tradition of
is that the one where
physics. You're flipping a pan, you're cooking stuff in the pan,
yes,
and it's like it really is something where you're like the tactile response between the controller and the pan. You really have to get in touch with it. Once you do, right. It feels so good. You're like, damn, I'm fucking doing it.
But until then, it's, I'm sure, horrible. Similar to flipping things in an actual pan.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool publisher. It came out on September 26th of 2024. Pretty recent game.
Damn. Yeah.
We'll be discussing the events of the game and our analysis of those events. And we've also got, for the first time ever, some comments and questions from you, the viewers, from viewers like you.
Get excited.
Now, this is our next episode this is the next episode. This is our last episode. I think this is number 49 before number 50, right?
Oh, damn. So yeah, next one. You know what that means.
I didn't tell anybody what it is yet.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a big deal.
Hopefully. And I'm almost hesitant to field questions for it because I feel like we might be inundated with too many of them.
There'll be a 2-hour segment on the 50th video.
Which I would do. I would even do that as like a separate session maybe to maintain our sanity.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
We find a day like this where we can link up early.
And we just
normally we're catching up like
day.
3 or 4 hours later than this.
Yeah, easily, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get together. Get some poppers. Jalapeno poppers and snacks.
For snacks.
Yes.
You're not trying to and poppers to relax our assholes.
Yes. And we just go for like 7 hours, 8 hours, one shot.
I mean, we've done it without poppers.
Yeah, but I'm trying to make it special. I'm trying to give it a party vibe. So, this game is something that I would really like to see become more of a trend. It's not like a super unique idea, but it's something that I've seen a little bit more lately. I want to see more and more of it. Is games that you could play in an evening or two, or easily complete in one sitting. I mean, my playthrough was, I want to say like 2 hours and 35 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, mine was around there. In my first playthrough, I did in one night. You know what I mean? And then the second playthrough, I only broke up into two because I was streaming, and I had to stop because I work early in the morning and I start my streams too late. But no, I mean, it's a good. I love these games, and then we played the quote unquote prequel to this game as well,
yes,
with the other games that the developer made, and also we both started playing that at the same time, and I think you messaged me an hour later that you'd finished it, and I was also done.
Yeah, it took me maybe, because they added like a little addendum to that game, so the two parts together, maybe 35 minutes in total.
Yeah, or you can fuck around and like take more time than that. You know what I mean? But even then, there's not much more to do than that. So.
Yeah, like Apartment Story was another game that I thought was great. That I don't think you played that, but you would probably really enjoy that as well.
You also compared this to a better version of Virginia.
Virginia was a game that people, when we were asking for suggestions for this series, what's a good brief narrative-driven game that's open to interpretation, especially, or worth discussing. And we both played Virginia.
And agreed that there was not much to discuss.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was fine. It just felt like a school project that wasn't fully... It felt like a good draft of an interesting idea, but didn't really go anywhere.
It was almost like a proof of concept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you'd submit that to be like, I want to make this game. You know what I mean? Here's what I have. Here's my idea. We're going to expand on this. You know what I mean? But it felt very... I'm sure there's a bunch of deep, dives into it and like breakdowns on what's going on that are super complex. I don't know.
I think we would have been the first.
Maybe to me, it didn't feel like there was anything really below the surface.
Not really.
So
and a lot of the more surreal imagery just felt like window dressing to me and didn't really like do much for me.
Yes. Agreed.
Whereas with this game,
I'll admit that until you had brought it back up, I forgot we played it.
Fair.
I had to like remind myself. I was like, "Did we play that game?" And then like the memories came back to me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was just super unnotable."
Yeah, to me, I thought Mouthwashing was very similar in terms of it being similar in terms of gameplay, similarly constructed narrative, told out of order.
Yep.
And using that surreal hallucinatory imagery to kind of illustrate different aspects of the story. I think Mouthwashing is so smart and so funny and tragic, and it just hits all these notes. And it's hard to say, because when you make good art minimalistically and you use just a couple of key pieces of imagery, you can start to kind of like, as a viewer, dissect things and imply things that maybe weren't there intentionally.
Yes.
So it's difficult for me to say exactly how much was purely intentional and how much is just those, you find in storytelling, those coincidences sometimes kind of come together because you're just using good imagery that's going to play nicely together.
Yes.
And you can, so like between the mascot, the crew, the cargo, the actual mouthwash, the dead pixel, and then a couple of key phrases like "I'll take care of it." There's like, it just keeps working. Like on so many levels, you could just deconstruct this game over and over and over. We're not going to do that.
No, we're just going to do it the one time. And we're going to try to not insert too much of our own trauma. And
yeah, this game reminds me of when I was trapped on a ship.
When I was stranded in space.
So I guess let's just talk real quick about the actual gameplay. It's almost kind of one of those walking simulator, modern survival horror type games.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just kind of a point and click at the same time also. Because it's almost like aside from like a handful of times, the walking is almost like not even necessary. You know what I mean? You could almost just like click to the next area and have your character walk automatically, and it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
There's only a handful of times where it's like you actually have to. It matters what you're doing.
Yeah, and those and even like character, locomotion or whatever. Like it's very minimalistic. Like most people are seated in one spot.
Yeah.
In any particular scene, you walk up to them. It's very much a very
they seem to kind of
low key kind of.
It seems like they kind of teleport around to places.
They do.
You can never find them like walking anywhere. You know,
I think they might walk in one of the cutscenes. They might not.
I don't think so. I don't think they ever actually like.
Yeah.
Aside from like a little bit of movement, you know what I mean, and then. One time you see Swansea moving.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's one time where he's really moving.
Yeah, he's really moving.
But yeah, I love how the game had those kind of like technical constraints, and just it didn't hamper the experience at all. Because I played some games where I go, I just feel like I'm looking at a static image and it doesn't feel alive.
Yeah, well, and it's like it has very like some people compared to like PS1 era graphics. And like it is, but it's not as like polygon, you know what I mean, at all. You know what I mean? It's just more like as far as like the quality of it.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, but it doesn't look like that. But it is like.
It's how some people might remember PS1 to look.
Yes. But it's like, it is very like low quality, you know what I mean? Like low res.
Like low fidelity.
Low fidelity, yes. But
low
like.
resolution.
None of that bugged me at all. You know what I mean? Like I had no issues with it. There was never a point when I was playing this where I was like, wow, this really looks bad or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No,
like, it works
it had very
well.
solid art direction, and it just really utilized great writing and great sound design very effectively. Good lighting.
The music was very good too, even though I noticed that like just about everything they used at the end, like half the stuff they used was public domain stuff, which I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool.
It reminds me of when I watched the credits for Inscription and I saw how much of it was like open source models and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn, that's so cool. Because I don't know, like one thing I've become kind of obsessed with is there's a whole community online of people who do texture matching, and they go through like old texture libraries and like image libraries, and they find what like N64 developers especially were using for like, oh, here's the wall texture from this level of Mario 64.
Oh, okay.
And they're finding like this was like the picture of like a fruit that became a fruit icon in Smash Brothers.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
And so much of those games, huge iconic characters. I mean, Mario, Yoshi, those are larger than life, just generational franchise characters. You don't think about like it just being a bunch of like fucking like clip art and I don't know, like stock images, creating those worlds around them. But it is.
It's quite literally what it is. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, as like an independent artist, I'm like sometimes like so hung up on a complete auteur vision where I'm touching every single thing and kind of like, well, can you use the tools that are around you to do it to work smart and you
can still create your own vision without like literally like having a part in every single aspect of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to delegate sometimes, you know what I mean? You have to go, okay, well, I don't have to make the fucking brick wall along the side of the road here, you know what I mean? I can just find a brick wall and fucking put that in there.
Yeah, I think I have some like weird like nagging pressure in my head to like be that way sometimes, and it's like really cool to see a game like this use like effectively using like it's like you're saying like public domain songs or whatever. It's like, oh,
I think it's the aging DIY hipster in us. You know what I mean? I think what it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then so like, you do a couple things where it's very much like just a lot of those like streamer games that I don't think are all that good.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of them. Like, there's like
use a scanner.
Like Poppy's Playhouse was one of them or whatever. And then like, I never really liked Five Nights at Freddy's. Even though, like, I get it. Like, that was well done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the original, but, like...
And there's, like, a million...
But, yeah, there's 1,000
smaller
games like
ones
that.
that
Yes.
no one... Yeah.
Oh, that are, way smaller, yeah. You can go on to just, like, indie horror on Steam and find 100 of these for 99 cents.
And you just, like, slowly walk their hallway with a flashlight, and then, like, something happens behind you.
Yeah, and you go...
And then there's, like... I'm a ghost and I killed myself because of feelings I never resolved.
And there's a streamer somewhere spitting out milk and screaming, you know what I mean, every time something happens.
And I feel like this game, you know, used that same framework where it's like just very minimal interactivity.
Well, and the things that they like borrowed from those games, those are like the entire game in the other case.
Right.
You know, in those other cases, like that's the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's like, oh, this one small section is going to be like that. You know what I mean? And then you're done. But you just have to get through that whole thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was fun for a second.
Yeah.
Just like all of those games are fun for a minute. But most of them have like no replayability at all. And then like if you can't beat it within the first couple tries, you're like, I don't want to even fucking care anymore.
Yeah. So again, I was just very impressed with how they were able to take kind of like it's kind of what I feel like is like tired mechanics and just use everything, use a very simple set of tools super effectively.
The narrative is really what drives this game, though. Like the way
sure.
that the story's told and stuff like that. Like that's the most impactful part of the whole thing for me.
Yeah, it's true. And speaking of the narrative, so the game takes place on a long-haul space freighter called the Tulpar.
I was saying Tulpar.
Tulpar.
I don't know.
Which is in Turkic mythology, not to be confused with Turkish mythology.
They're actually one and the same.
Not entirely, though.
Not entirely. I know. I looked it up and it was kind of confusing. But it's like the Turkish people are part of the Turkic people, but like it's not the other way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's confusing.
But it's like a Pegasus.
Yes.
It's the winged horse, and it represents divine assistance, and it's seen as like a spiritual guide to humans. And yeah, they're on the ship for an estimated 382 days, which is over a year.
Just over.
And you have 5 people on the ship. You have Captain Curly.
Captain Curly, baby.
A nurse named Anya. Another guy named Jimmy, who I don't know what he does. Like a tech named Swansea. And then he has a sort of an intern assistant type, a very young kid named Daisuke.
I'll admit, you were having a hard time saying Tulpar. The first couple times I said his name on stream before it clicked for me, I said Daisuke, and then I was like, oh, it's Daisuke, and that's only because of baseball, you know, that I would. I don't know. Pronounce. There's been a couple.
Is that like a move in baseball?
No. There's.
Is that one of the moves you do in baseball?
They bring over a lot of Japanese pitchers for American baseball.
I thought they would bring out like Cubans and stuff.
They do that too, but they do that too. Japanese people too. Baseball's huge in Japan too.
I know. I study Japanese culture.
Yeah. I was like, I know you don't give a fuck about sports at all, but not that
I love sports. I'm a big sports nut. And
that ball is life hall.
That's the main crew, and you kind of go back and forth between two perspectives, either playing as Curly or as Jimmy at different points in time.
Who are the? Because I know you said you don't know what Jimmy does, but he is the co-pilot. Effectively,
he's the co-pilot, but Curly is higher ranked.
He's El Capitan, yeah.
And now before we get into the story proper and start discussing, you know, the events of this game, we're going to be talking about the game in the order in which events are experienced.
Yes, which is not chronological.
I do want to note we are having today. Now,
it's pretty good.
I made us a little mouthwashing inspired cocktail. So this is gin. Water, both like frozen water and carbonated water, a dash of maple syrup, and a lot of mouthwash.
There's a lot of Listerine in here,
Which
pretty good.
Which I mean, clearly that's the mouthwash this is inspired by. You know, in the game, it looks like Listerine.
The bottles actually look like the Crest Pro Health bottles.
Maybe that's
the
true.
way they're shaped.
I haven't. I love using like an alcohol-based mouthwash, but
it's because you're addicted to alcohol.
That's part of it. I love the burn, and I don't buy it though because it has all those nasty dyes in it, and I just don't like to buy anything with those dyes just as an act.
It's also
of,
like
you know,
silly expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's just, I used to get it all the time, and then I just kind of stopped at a certain point because I was like, oh, this is an extra like $20. You know what I mean? That a month I don't need to be spending.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. It's the same way why it's like so hard. It's so hard to not like. That's why I couldn't vape.
Right.
You know
well,
what I mean? I like the burn.
So you don't
like the burn.
use mouthwash anymore?
No. Not since playing this game.
To quote Donkey, yo breath is kicking. Just kidding. His breath is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Donkey from Shrek.
Yes, yeah. I figured that's the donkey you were referencing.
You know, so I guess I would like to invite, you know, as we get deeper into this discussion, go ahead. And if you want to make your own mouthwashing inspired cocktail, go ahead right now. We're going to have you just get that together. And I'm giving you a moment.
We'll wait for you.
Mix it sloppy.
That means use your finger to stir.
The game opens up with a little screen that tells you
basically all the info we just gave you.
Yeah.
Where it's like
5 people on the ship. How
blah,
long
blah,
it's
blah.
been. You're like, I think you're like 180 days into the journey.
Yeah, 147, I think.
Okay, that sounds right. I was thinking of 187.
On an undercover cop.
Yeah, and you don't stop. And at the bottom it says, I hope this hurts. Who's saying that? Is that God? What is that? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I know. I don't know.
That?
There's... That's like the only part of this game that I am kind of like, I wonder who that is, because the rest, everything else that you see that's like that is clearly a delusion. You know what I mean? But this seems like the only thing that's supposed to like not be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where.
Well, and often it's clear. To me, it's clear whose delusion it is. Although I think sometimes it's maybe open to interpretation. This one, I don't really know.
No.
Anyway,
maybe it's from the developer to you, to the player. Saying,
I would love that.
I hope this hurts you.
And I would love to see if maybe, I guess I should say this after we have our discussion, but it'd be nice if there was a version of the game where things did just like went a lot nicer for everybody and they just had a good time and everybody
I wish
felt good.
I wish that in a few key moments where there isn't a choice, because a lot of this big theme of this game and the other games for this developer are the illusion of choice, you know what I mean? And like the powerlessness in that, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. Acceptance, things like that. But I do wish sometimes in those key moments that you could just be like, no, I'm going to do the other thing now. No, let's not do that. Wait, let's try this instead. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, we might as well just get right into it. You know what I mean? But each section of the game opens with like, it gives you, everything's based around the crash. And so everything that it's telling you, it will always be like 2 months before, 2 months after, blah, blah, blah. It opens with 0 days before the crash.
Right. So you're right there.
And you're sitting in the cockpit and a little warning comes up on the screen that says like orbital body detected on path, divert to left. And when I first started playing, I like selected the little handles and it says turn right or leave. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll leave and I'll see if there's anything else I can do. And there's nothing else you can really... There's another thing you can interact with, but you can't do anything with it.
Right.
And you keep looking around. And then so I turned right, and then it's like, you're going to fucking crash. And so I restarted the game. So I thought I did something wrong. Because I was like, no, you can't crash right away. That's bad. And then I was like, okay, clearly this is kind of telling me I just have to do what it's telling me to do. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about that as a game player?
I like it in certain cases. I'm somebody who loves like open world, you know what I mean, games. So like oftentimes I like having like, obviously Fallout, some of my favorite games, you know what I mean? The earlier ones are my favorites where there's so much freedom of choice. But it's like frustrating, but at the same time I like it in this case. You know what I mean? Like I didn't dislike it in this where it was like, okay, I have to choose that. But it's almost like just make it happen then. You know what I mean? Like don't give me the choice. Just have me click the thing and I'll do it. You know what I mean? Rather than it going turn right or leave. Because then if you leave, you just have to sit there. There's nothing else you can do.
I'm asking
I don't think.
I'm working on a game of my own right now, and there's a couple moments where, similar to this, I kind of have the protagonist making a choice that doesn't seem like the right choice to make. And I want to give the player the option to say no. But I also don't want to create a whole new storyline that's based on a completely alternate series of events. So I'm trying to find a way to maybe you choose not to do the thing, and then you get like a soft ending, and
that's not a bad idea.
And then you can kind of like go back to your last point.
That's not a bad idea. I don't mind that when that happens. I'm trying to think of. There's something I played recently where
I feel like Disco Elysium has some stuff like that.
I could be wrong. I still haven't played that. I own it, but
I
still haven't.
We should have an episode on that eventually.
It's like
that's
Steam's,
a life-changing game.
It is the #1 game. Steam is like, we think you'll really like this one.
I am so positive that you're gonna fucking love it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I have no doubt. But it's also, I know how big it is. You know what I mean? And sometimes there's something overwhelming about that.
I keep receiving calls,
but also
I can't take a call right now. I'm sorry.
I know this will be weeks from now, just so you know. You can't take a call right now.
Yeah, so you choose to move to the right.
Towards the asteroid or whatever, the orbital body.
And the crew is docked 4,000 credits. And I like that it's not you. It's the crew.
The whole crew for the navigational error.
And so an override comes on to course correct.
Yep.
And you go, You find a key and you override the override.
Right back into the asteroid.
The crash is now imminent. You go out into the hallway. You're seeing these posters all over.
Yep.
You're working for the Pony Express, which is like a precursor to the U.S. postal system.
Yeah.
It was dangerous. It was, I remember covering this briefly in history class. It was just kind of like a way to get stuff across the country during a very crazy time when we were, killing all the indigenous people to create this culture that we're in right now.
Well, it's also really interesting playing this because
I don't mean to laugh at that. It's like a funny thing. It's incredibly fucked up.
Oh, it's horrible. But that's like I've just been listening to a podcast about the wreck of the Batavia, which was like a merchant ship from like for the Dutch East India Company, and it was basically like this, where it's like they just pick like oftentimes the people that they hire for the ship are like people with nothing else. You know what I mean? They can't really make it in anything else. Oftentimes they're like convicts or literally homeless people. You know what I mean? They get them on the ship. They dock all their pay for like the food and the lodging and stuff like that. And then what they would do, not in this case, obviously, but like in those cases, they would overhire because they knew half of the population of the ship would die by the time that they reached their destination. So they would overhire by like 100 people in the hopes that there'd be enough of them left by the time they made it. Which is kind of funny in the case of this one where there's an extra person on the ship, which we don't realize until that's not like directly said to us until later, but this ship's only made for 4.
I do have to take this call.
Okay.
Here, we'll do this on camera.
Oh, no.
Thank you for calling Community Bank. All calls may be recorded for quality assurance. Para continuar en español, presione el ocho.
Hopefully you have to give them your PIN and stuff on microphone.
To serve you better, we have several bank-happy options, and they're all awesome. For automated account information, your call is being transferred for assistance. All of our representatives are currently assisting other callers.
Fuck.
Please hold for the next available representative. Please continue to hold. Someone will be with you shortly. Think easy.
They're saying it's the fraud department. It's saying, it's asked me, did I spend $300 on OnlyFans this month in February, which I guess we're only 5 days into February. Which I could see why that would look suspicious.
Yeah, that'd be a lot you'd be really pumping and dumping real quick.
Well,
or unless all your subscriptions re-upped, and you just have way more.
My gooning knows no bounds.
Was it a text message?
And then they called me, which
No.
never happens. That's why I'm like, uh-oh. I see they blocked a charge for $6 on Fanatical. I think that's when I bought both of us. Did you? I remember I sent you a Steam key. I said, this is a gift for you. Did you ever redeem
Yeah,
that?
is that all the Leisure Suit Larry games? Yeah.
I think buying all of the Leisure Suit Larry games got my
Twice.
account flagged.
Buying them twice.
Oh.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Community Bank's Fraud Department. My name is Jay. How may I help you?
Hi, I'm returning a call I got a few minutes ago.
Thank you for giving us a call back, sir. What was your name?
Matthew Hall.
So I do see that my coworker reached out about a transaction from last Wednesday for $6.03 with Fanatical.
Fanatical, yes.
Was that a purchase that you were trying to make?
Yes, I was trying to buy some games.
All right. Thank you for confirming that was you and not fraud with us, Matthew. It doesn't tell me the specific reason why Visa was concerned that it might be fraud, but I do see that the merchant's based out of the United Kingdom. So if they're not used to seeing international transactions from that part of the world, that might have been what was created a concern for them.
That makes
But
sense.
now that we've been able, so I do apologize for any inconvenience that temporary block created, but now that we've been able to verify that it wasn't fraud, we do have the card back to working order for you here, and that card's ready for your next purchase whenever you'd like to make it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Take care and have a great rest of your day, sir.
All right, good looking out.
It was Leisure Suit Larry. That's
It
right.
was buying Leisure Suit Larry that got my account flagged. What the fuck?
So I see you bought two purchases of Magna Cum Loud.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with them being in the UK.
Yeah, I know. Oh. We see you bought 12 porn games.
They're not really porn games. I mean, it's
You're
like,
explaining it to them.
it's a comedy. It's a,
No, I know,
it's
no.
sexual.
It's like a classic.
but I'm not
yeah.
jerking off to it very often.
I'm not always masturbating to it.
It's not like when I bought 9 boxed copies of the Guy game for PS2.
Because I'd ruin it. Because I'd burn out. I'd overheat each one. Ugh.
Well, that was an interesting detour. I'm not sure if we'll keep that in or not, but probably not in full.
Cut out some parts of it.
I'll
yeah.
be cutting out some of that for sure. Anyway, so once you exit the cockpit after you've doomed the ship, you see these posters on the wall that kind of have some Pony Express corporate policies, like no more than 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
And you realize, like, oh, they are mangling people.
Where it's like poor synergy will result in collective punishment. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like that was one of my favorites.
So you go all the way down the hall, and then there's Polly, who is
the thing is, too,
ship's
like,
mascot.
when you first walk out, there's like 2 posters. Next hallway, there's like 6 posters, and then there's just like more and more fucking posters as
Yes.
you go.
Everything's getting crazier and crazier. You see Polly, and you're like, woo!
And the ship's like falling apart. You know what I mean? Like steam's coming out of the walls, pipes are hanging and stuff.
You gotta turn around, walk back. Things are getting more and more crazy. It's getting more claustrophobic, and then you see Polly, the ship's mascot's like this, like anthropomorphic donkey, horse. I guess
yeah.
it's a horse.
Yeah.
It's not a donkey.
No.
I was thinking of Donkey from earlier
From
when I
Shrek.
quoted him.
You're thinking of Donkey from Shrek. Matt's favorite character.
And then you hear a little crying baby, and I will say Puss in Boots is my favorite.
I thought it was Baby Stewart.
Oh, my favorite Shrek character.
Oh, okay,
now,
sorry.
if Baby Stewart was in Shrek, hello. Things
Crossover.
things would have gone very differently. You know what I mean? He'd have his little death ray on Farquaad. Good Lord. That would be so nice. Holy freaking crap, Lois. I'm in the Shrek swamp. Because you can't have a baby unsupervised. Although it could be Brian the dog there with him.
Could be Brian the dog there with him.
He'd be like... Indubitably my canine companion.
He sips a martini.
Eventually, things fade to white, and we go to 2 months after the crash. And this is not the stock market crash of 2025 that has happened since we...
Or of 1929.
since we shot this video, America is completely...
It's going poorly.
The crew is discussing whether or not the cargo that they've been carrying would be helpful for their survival. So you need to go get the code scanner, which is an item that allows the captain to open the cargo bay.
See, at first, I thought this was the code switcher.
And you're like, that's why he's talking like that.
So I was doing a very different voice at first when I was streaming this. But
Understandable, you know? It's how we get by. We, as white guys, trying to navigate this increasingly diverse culture. I just want to be accepted.
I just want him to think I'm cool.
I'm not trying to be offensive.
I just want to fit in. They're all saying it. Why can't I?
Have you heard of Tom McDonald? He actually has some really cool views on the topic.
Is he that YouTube rapper?
He's the white rapper who did the track. I mean, I don't even want to talk about him. I find him so abhorrent. But yeah, he's the guy who did the track with Roseanne. He did the track with Ben Shapiro.
Oh, okay, yes.
I've been.
He's been around for a minute though, right?
He's been around for like 14 years.
He's always done like cringe, like white guy, like borderline, like
9 or 10 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. Dust and I found him. He did a song called "White Boy," which is basically just like, kind of like, all that kind of like, I don't know, just white victimhood deflecting kind of stuff, and then but also being a total like culture vulture, and
at the same time.
And we're like, wow, this is the worst fucking guy we've ever seen. Hopefully we never hear from him again. And now he's like bigger than ever.
Yeah.
Somehow
Because of the unfortunate discourse in this country.
He persists. The code scanner is a little thing like you'd use in Room Raiders to look at cum on a bed. It's like a blacklight thing, and you can see there's like door codes. There's codes to different unlocking mechanisms.
There's door loads.
There are loads all over the door as well. There's ceiling loads, corner loads, laundry loads. That's not like a load of laundry. That's blowing a load
onto
onto
you blow
some
into
laundry.
Onto or into the laundry.
The way I do it, it's into the laundry. I am basically creating a vaginal cavity out of 2 pairs of blue jeans and a sock.
I just get the pile of clothes.
Yes.
Go to town.
Kind of like how sometimes when I'm raking the leaves, I jump into a pile of leaves
and go to town.
Especially when they're just a little bit damp.
Just a little wet.
This is a great first episode for somebody to watch.
Oh.
I don't really want to hear about the inanimate objects that you guys have sex with. I came here to talk about mouthwashing. So
I came here to be introspective.
Well, you know, Jimmy does say in his psych evaluation that he's been sexually attracted to cartoon horses. So get over it, all right? We all like what we like. And I mean, who even cares? No,
who even fucking gives a shit what happened?
The code scanner is like, you know, one of the few like mechanics in the game that it keeps recurring. And
that
it's
is
just
consistent.
Like it's a neat little thing. But I like, again, like you said, there are some games that'd be the whole fucking thing, and they they use it very sparingly, and I really appreciate it because it's like I like Amnesia or Penumbra or like those like early kind of like walking sim horror games where it's like there's not even any enemies. You're
even
just
something
walking.
like Outlast.
Yeah.
Where it's like you just have a light and a camera.
That's a little too hardcore for me.
Well, yes, but it's still like you're just walking or running.
But it works. I mean, it's a good. They're good, and so you know, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking them like, oh, the game is so simple. It's like it's just so cool to use minimal elements super effectively.
Yeah, it's cool to have such a good and compelling game, despite the fact that there's like not really a whole lot actually happening. You know,
it's fucking cool, and I it makes me think of how many other games feel super bloated with stuff that I will never use or never look at or never interact with. I go, do less and maybe pay people more. I don't know, you know.
Do a little less and take longer.
Yeah, please. And Jimmy basically is like, well, I'm the captain now. So
He says, I am the captain now.
the ship is covered in this foam. It's like a safety mechanism that when there's like a crack in the hull or in any of the internals, like this like safety
It's like
foam.
an insulation foam.
It's kind of like Prey.
Yes.
Remember the foam gun in Prey?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Prey. There's also a lot of also draw a lot of comparisons between this and Soma, which I heard that this game was heavily inspired by. So
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Another game we've done on I played. What are you trying to do?
Like sew my nuts up.
So much cum.
Yeah. Yeah. Anya is in the medical area, and she asks Jimmy to help feed Curly his painkillers. Curly, after the crash, apparently, has become paraplegic.
He's not doing well. Paraplegic is putting it lightly.
Oh, he also had all of his skin and lips burned off, and he's just basically a head
Like
and a torso.
paraplegic implies sometimes just like paralysis.
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
He's got no arms or legs. He's a quadruple.
He has
amputee.
one eye and a mouth.
and he can't scream.
He can scream.
No, I know. It's just I have no mouth and I must scream.
Right.
But no, and you can open his little mouth up. You can open and close it.
I didn't know that. I didn't do that. I opened his mouth once,
because you have to.
and then I closed it respectfully. Did you play with his mouth?
Yeah, you get an achievement.
I know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got the achievement.
I didn't know that until afterward when I was doing research. I go, oh, that's sick.
I'm sick.
Have you played I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream?
No.
That game is so brutal. I would love to do that game sometime, but I feel like we'd need a walkthrough to play
that and Harvester would be two fun ones, but we need walkthroughs for both of those. We played a little bit of Harvester once.
We played a little bit of Harvester once, and everybody was like, "That's racist. This sucks." I was like, there's a racist character, but it's not a racist game.
Yeah, I was like, fair. The holdout, though, wait.
He represents Manifest Destiny, which
is a racist
which we were
thing.
just talking about. You know? But it's not going, wasn't that cool? It's going, oh my God, this is horrifying. And like, we have a culture built around violence. Anyway, I'd love to do Harvester. And in case anyone is a longtime fan of the channel, I've been doing interviews with some of the people who made that game and people around it. And I've been working on a very long, big retrospective on Harvester for like a year.
Nice.
I haven't finished it. I got so many videos in the works, but that's one that I would love to put out eventually, and I will. But
big things coming soon, guys.
Big things coming in due time. Anya asks, why do you think he did it? And she expresses her belief that people are more than their worst moments. Swansea is protecting, and why he did it? She's asking why'd Curly crash the ship? Swansea is protecting the utility room, saying that the room is too fragile and full of foam, and if anybody went knocking around there, it could just fuck the ship up forever.
And it looks like if you look in the window, it is just like white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it seems to be implied that the whole room is just fucking cool.
So you go down to the cargo bay.
And then...
and this is something I really like about the game is that it does a little like... Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how No. It does a little like freeze frame, like a
it made me think
dissolve.
my game was crashing the first time it happened. I was like, oh, damn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does a glitch dissolve. Like a data moshing kind of look. And then you go to another time period. And you said everything's, before the crash, after the crash. There's also...
That's fair.
The other big event, which I guess we'll get to eventually.
Yes, when we get there, we'll get there. But fair. The bulk of the times are based around the crash.
Yes. 7 days before the crash, Anya is giving Captain Curly a psychological... And they don't call him Captain Curly.
What a fun name, though. What a fun name Captain Curly is.
She's giving him a psychological evaluation, and she laments the fact that she has to do Jimmy's evaluation next. And Curly's like, I could do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've known him a long time. Jesus, sorry.
That was disgusting.
I had a woman at the co-op once. I sneezed, and I very much like fully turned around. You know what I mean? Like couldn't have touched my face anymore. Vampired everything. Turned back around. You know what I mean? Used hand sanitizer. Then went to grab her groceries, and she goes, "Did you sneeze into your hands?" And I was like, "No." Like, calm down. She was like very panicked and like didn't want me, like tried to stop me from touching her things.
That reminds me, one time I held a customer down and sneezed into their mouth. That was that was the day I quit. I was kind of doing a falling down style rampage across the entire store. You go down the hall and you see that Daisuke has broken a vent. He's in the utility room.
Oh no.
And he was going to an event they shouldn't have been going into.
Mm-hmm. Swansea's real mad at him.
Swansea's mad at him. Are you dripping there? You dipping?
It slipped down. I went to just like adjust it a little and it went, and then I had to.
We just got a new Patreon payment.
Oh.
I'm buying another nice mic stand.
Fuck yeah.
Sorry.
Now we can have two.
We can have two. Thank you, Patreon supporters.
Thank all of you. Mm-hmm. Not every one of you, just the ones on Patreon.
And a big fuck you to all the sheepos and freeloaders out there. A big eat shit loser. Mm. Just kidding. I love you all, but not equally. I love the people that give us money a little bit more.
Just a little bit more.
Not much more.
No, because it's not. I don't actually know any of you.
No, but it is proportionate to how much you give.
Yeah, it is directly influenced by.
So you have to go to use your scanner to unlock the utility axe, and then you learn when you're in there in the utility room, you see there's cryopods, which are like used to put people into a cryostasis. They go to sleep for 20 years.
You've played Fallout 4, right?
Oh yeah,
it's similar to Fallout 4. Mm-hmm.
It's similar to Fallout 4. Game of the year?
Only example I can think of.
Fallout 4, Game of the Year 2025? I think so.
I think so. But no, another cool thing, fun thing to notice, there's only 4 cryopods. There's 5 of you on the ship.
Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry.
Matt's lung just collapsed.
I just had a really sharp cough. What'd you say?
There's only 4 cryopods.
No, there's not.
But there's 5 of you on the ship.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Well, they mentioned that. I think Jimmy says at
right
one
before
point,
you
like,
go. I think it's right before you enter the utility room to do this.
Oh, it's like Daisuke was like a very last minute addition to the crew. And,
yeah. Curly's like, I should have put up more of a fuss about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Because it also affects like the rations. You know,
right.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that, so
that sucks. They're really shitty. Mm-hmm. They being
Pony Express,
Ally
Express, whatever you
So,
want.
you free Daisuke from the foam. You just have to chop the foam away, and that's another one of the basic mechanics of the game. Is sometimes you're gonna be doing a little chopping of foam.
Yeah, I think one other time.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like one of 3 things that you actually do that's not just walking or talking.
One fun thing in this moment, too, is that Swansea comments on the fact that when you have to go get the axe with the captain scanner, Swansea is like, there's not a goddamn thing on this ship anymore that, like, he's like, I would have just taken care of it if I didn't have to call you. And it's kind of poking fun at, like, the code scanner in general. Mm-hmm. That he's like, it's kind of dumb that to do anything on this ship, you have to be the captain, and you have to have the stupid scanner, and you need to know the code, and it's all this nonsense. All this
they're just stuck in all that fucking bureaucracy that doesn't mean anything anymore because they're dying.
Well, not yet.
You're right.
This is 7 days before the crash.
It's before the crash. Mm-hmm. You're still Captain Curly.
Spoiler.
You're not Captain Jimmy.
No, I know. We all know.
Well, I mean...
yeah, I know. You're not spoiling anything.
Shit.
Fuck.
So you and Jimmy head to the cockpit to perform his psych evaluation, but you wind up going down an impossibly long staircase and drop off into a void where you land in a pool of red liquid and you have hallucinations of a crash. Mm-hmm. You see the warning signs come up, and I think you see like ladders.
Yeah,
and
there's a bunch of bent and broken ladders like rising up like arches.
I think the ladders represent like like Shoots and Ladders, the board game, and you're like a big fan of board games, probably.
Oh, that's probably it. I figured it was the way they looked like arches. I figured it was more like a McDonald's reference.
That makes sense. Or the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. So you see a door in the distance, and you enter, and you find the cockpit, and then you and Jimmy do the psych evaluation, and so you're kind of like, basically this scene kind of like implies that Jimmy like was not doing so great back on Earth, and that Curly may have like encouraged him to take this job and try to maybe turn things around. And
Curly's like not like trying to take him under his wing necessarily, but trying to like give him a second chance.
Yeah, he's looking out for him, but he's not going out of his way to like foster him in any kind of like real way. But and Jimmy's asking, can we talk off the record? And they're kind of just like, they're talking about like, what do they want out of life? And Curly's kind of saying like, I'm not sure like if I want to keep doing this job just because I'm good at it. Yeah,
it's like I think like the exact, speaking of ladders again, but I think the exact thing he says is like he's reached like the highest rung of this ladder.
That's what Jimmy says.
Oh, Jimmy says. Yeah, that's right. Jimmy says.
Curly's saying like, I'm not sure if this is what I want to do just because I'm good at it.
I've been on this path.
And then Jimmy's like, oh, so you're the top and you have nowhere else to go. You think you're on the wrong ladder now. And he's like, no, that's not quite what I'm saying.
He's like, I guess. That
like,
kind of.
Jimmy is super obsessed with the idea of like,
being at the top.
Yeah, and he sees this hierarchy of the Pony Express as like a super important thing.
And it seems like there's like, you get a sense of it a little bit right now, but there's like a little bit of almost like jealous resentment there. You know what I mean? Between the two of them. Whereas it's more, what Curly is implying is like what you said, where he's like, I'm just not really sure if like, is this what I want to do? You know what I mean? Is this like, Swansea gets into it later in the game, but it's kind of like, I've done all these things. It's cool. But like, is it cool? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or am I just kind of going through the motions?
And Jimmy displays what he does for the rest of the game, which is kind of like, I hear you, you're saying this, and I'm making it about me.
Yep.
And you're like, what? That's not really what I said. I got you. Jimmy's That's like, exactly what you said.
Loud and clear, boss.
The conversation is interrupted by a fax from corporate, and you go to your inventory to look at it, and the scene dissolves.
Very fun that you're on a spaceship and you're getting a fax.
We're now in the cargo hold, and we can see a TV with several different programs on it, and there's like a, this all looks like old public domain kind of footage, but it's like a cartoon about like corporate growth and getting a job and blah 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 and all these little things. And as you flip through the channels, the last thing is a commercial for the Dragon Breath mouthwash.
Fun fact: the second one right before there is Captain Curly, because it's a skeleton dancing, and then all of his limbs fall off and it falls to the ground. And then he gets back up and starts dancing again, but all of his limbs fall off and he falls to the ground.
I see.
Like, hey, that's Curly. Because he's got no
limbs. Smash cut 2 months. No, it's actually a dissolve. 2 months after Crash. You pretty much, now we're back to, we were talking about, is there anything in the cargo hull that can be useful for our survival? You open it up, and it is a cavernous warehouse full of nothing but boxes of mouthwash.
Like which Indiana Jones is that? Where at the end they go into like the.
I've never watched Indiana Jones.
It must be Ark of the Covenant, because I think they end up putting the Ark of the Covenant into like. There's just like this scene at the end where it's like some government warehouse of like artifact. You know what I mean? Like artifacts that have power or whatever is what it's supposed to suggest, and it's just like this endless warehouse full of boxes that they're just pushing it down. It's endless, and that's what this feels like. You'll get what I'm talking about. I've only seen like 2 Indiana Jones movies.
I will watch them.
You don't have to.
I want to, because
I finally saw the first Terminator movie.
Oh, brilliant! Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was fun.
I like it a lot.
I liked Total Recall way more.
Total Recall is more fun. Have you seen Terminator 2?
No, I've seen parts of it when I was a kid, but I've never
Terminator 2 is like
way
more fun.
Oh, okay.
It's like it is like the quintessential 90s blockbuster movie.
You got the Liquid Terminator, right? Where you can go.
It's just parts. A fun action movie, super stupid, big Hollywood summer kind of movie. Fuck like,
big budget. Lots of explosions.
Yeah, and it's like
Sick.
it really, and it delivers on it. It's not like it's because like that kind of thing. I feel like they've like sanded all the rough edges off those kinds of movies now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this is like back when it was still just a little rough around the edges, a little dirty.
And it's like there's no more practical effects. Those explosions could have killed someone in those movies. So that's what makes it feel a little like you see something blow up, there's shrapnel flying over. One of those could have caught that actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At any time, and occasionally did.
I was watching there's like a fucking like 6-hour long RoboCop documentary that came out like a year or two ago that is like so good.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen clips of that.
They
where
talk about the cookies.
Yeah,
maybe? Yes.
It's like I have no fucking clue what he's talking about.
Yeah, the whole movie's like that interesting to me.
Yeah.
But they talk about like they kind of just like went ahead with one of the explosions they weren't really sure that they should have.
Uh-huh.
And like the shrapnel did almost fucking kill a guy.
Jesus Christ. But that's what I mean. They don't take risks anymore. Where's the practical effects? The monitor went down.
Fuck the monitor.
I figured it didn't matter, but
No, I'm literally going to.
all right.
So Anya's telling you there's so much sugar in this stuff that it can't even work as a disinfectant.
Mm-hmm. And then
Daisuke's like, at least our breath is going to smell nice. And and Swansea goes,
wait a minute. Give me that. I can get fucking hammered off this shit, dude.
15 years sober.
Fuck it.
And in celebration of mouthwashing, I'm also breaking 15 years of sobriety to have this cocktail.
Even though you've seen us have a drink on most of these videos.
And those were all fake cocktails. This one's real.
Those are all mocktails from
fake. I like to say fake cocktail. I guess mocktail is better.
That's just like the new thing.
No, it's better. I all my life I've been saying fake cocktail because it comes up in conversation all the time.
Yeah, often.
I'm kidding. I shouldn't joke about people breaking sobriety, but
I'm
also
in my AA group yelling at everyone else for being a coward.
I feel like I'm the product of addiction. So, as you know, coming from my family life and things I've had, and yeah, I think you too have dealt with that.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like,
have very close family members who are alcoholics.
I feel totally comfortable joking about that stuff, but.
It affects me very directly on a regular basis. So
yes.
I feel like I'm allowed to make jokes.
Same here. So I just saying I'm not to put like a trigger warning on here. Not that we're going full snowflake mode on Hit Machine. You know, I pride myself on being the least woke channel. But it is something that's like it's so incredibly destructive and it does hurt. So I just don't want anybody to get the wrong idea when I'm joking about that kind of thing. It is
a serious issue.
It's so serious, but also for me, joking helps the coping.
You gotta make fun of stuff. It's the only way to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta find the humor in it. If you can't laugh about it, it's just gonna destroy you and eat away at you.
And if any of you are struggling out there, please don't reach out to us.
Don't. I haven't figured out the shit around me, so don't add more to it.
Yeah.
All right.
So Swansea starts drinking and he's like, "Hey, Daisuke, you want to learn how to drink like a man?" And he's just like, I don't know about.
And Anya's like, "Fucking stop, you guys! It's gonna literally kill you."
6 days before the crash, you have to break the news to the crew, and this, throughout the game, you'll be given different directives.
Yeah.
Quests.
And the thing is, sorry, not to interrupt you, but it says break the news. When you get the facts earlier, after you finish the psych eval, you don't get to read it.
No.
As like you, the player, you don't get to read it.
Right.
You try to read it, and that's when it does like the dissolve.
Scene.
Yeah. So it's very like, you're like, well, what is the news that I'm here to break? You know what I mean?
That everyone's getting a raise.
Yeah, everybody's...
I'm pretty sure I didn't actually play the game. So you go to
like a couple TikToks about it.
Yeah, there's like a commons area. I don't know what it's called, like a lounge, I guess. It's like the lounge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You walk into a birthday party. It's a surprise party for you. You're Curly now. Mm-hmm. You get one communal birthday per trip because you're there for over a year. And
which is fucked because that would imply everyone's gonna have a birthday while you're on your way there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And so you have to use the code scanner you have like basically like a 3D printer for food.
Yeah.
Where you put in like the different filaments, and then you like press the code to get this filament, and you put it in the machine, and then it like basically fabricates
that thing for you.
food product.
Yes.
You know?
It also, if you notice, there's like on just about everything, whether it's like on the mouthwash commercial, there's like a disclaimer at the bottom where it's like any like negative health side effects like as suffered as a result of using Dragon Breath mouthwash are like not, blah blah blah, we're not responsible. Underneath the cake recipe, it says like, do not consume more than 2 slices of cake. Any health side effects suffered as a result are not at fault of Pony Express. You know what I mean? Like,
doesn't it also at some point like say something about like you should be like checking with a physician? Wow, I've never.
physician.
You should like consult a physician like as you use the product, like before and after and during use of
I'm sure
the
that
mouthwash.
Yeah, I'm sure that was said somewhere. Before, after, and during.
I'm pretty sure it says something super extra like that. So you make the cake, and I liked this. I thought this was a fun little sequence.
Just doing the
cake.
I tried to. So if you another little thing is like you can obviously during these scenes, obviously you have these little directives, like you said.
Yeah.
But you can also just wander around a little bit. Sometimes
Yep.
it's limited where you can wander. You know what I mean? But you can also like talk to anyone that's in the room. And before you make the cake, everybody stands up. And if you talk to Dice K beforehand, he's like, it'd be super cool if you could sneak another sweetener packet in there. Just kidding, though, except unless, I wasn't kidding. And I tried. You can't. I like tried to figure it out. You know what I mean? You can't do it.
No, it's like super
It's
limited.
very rigid, about how you can do
you have
it.
like a little recipe book. You can see the recipes in there.
But I tried to make like a
Foreshadowing.
double sugar or something, you know what I mean? To like put 2 sugars in and try to make, Nope.
So, as you go to serve the cake, you tell everyone that corporate is letting go the whole crew except for you. They're keeping the captain on. So this is the last.
Because you still have to fly the ship.
Right.
But the idea is that like everything else can be automated effectively.
This is the last voyage of the Tulpar, the Tulumpar. Curly wasn't supposed to give the news to everyone until the end of the trip, but he was like just overcome with guilt, I guess.
And the thing is, if you look at the timeline, where this is 6 days before the crash, the day he received the news is 7 days before the crash. And he says, when they ask him when he found out, he says earlier this week. And then they all get, not all of them. Jimmy gets mad that
Jimmy gets very mad
that he held the information from them for so long. And I'm
like,
kind
it
of
was
like,
a day.
Yeah, but it's also like Curly at no point during all of this, Curly does not defend himself.
Curly is an airheaded wimp.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But it's like, there's just like, Jimmy starts attacking you and attacking everyone else. Where he starts like insulting all the other members of the ship.
Real quick. Anya is kind of like, fuck, I have nothing else.
Yeah.
Swansea's old. Dice K is like young. He doesn't really care. But like you're saying, Jimmy
has nothing else.
He goes off on everyone.
Yeah. He's like, Anya obviously is here because she couldn't make it as a real medical student. She's the stupidest person I've ever fucking met in my life.
That's how he treats her.
And then he's like, Swansea's old as shit. He's got, like, nobody's going to hire him after this, is basically what he says.
Daisuke's a moron.
Yeah. But he's
His
like,
parents
Daisuke will be
take care of
fine.
him.
His parents will take care of him. Which, like, I don't think it's ever implied that, like, it's implied that his mom got him this job. But it's also like, that's like if my mom got me a job at UPS. You know what I mean? It's not like, ooh, you got connections. You know what I mean? It's like, no, she knew of somebody at fucking UPS.
It's like your mom got you a job at fucking Georgia Pacific.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Schluter's.
Yeah, it's like not a, it's like not
Those are the factories where we live.
And effectively, too, the thing is, like, at this point, Curly's just effectively being made into, like, a glorified trucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all it is. Like, he's called captain or whatever, and he's flying a ship.
But at
like,
least there's lot lizards and stuff. You can get your dick sucked in a parking lot.
Just
As a trucker.
stop by a moon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get your rocks off. Yeah, there's positives.
I've, like, never been sucked off by a stranger in public. And I'm hoping... I
got a hand job one time in public from someone I didn't know the name of at the time.
That's cool.
That's the closest I've come to that.
Now, I have sucked my own dick in public many times.
And at the time, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah. No, I was in a completely dissociative state. It was after a very intense Kundalini yoga session. That's why I was so limber.
I thought we were moving into the tantric yoga section, but the class had ended.
Jimmy's like, well, you fucking idiot. Let's cut the cake since you got what you wanted, you piece of shit, you fucking idiot. Like,
He's like,
you
I
want to
guess-
be the best.
Yeah,
and
you want to be the best, and you want to start over and try something new. So I guess now you get to do that. No fucking problem. You know what I mean? No pressure on it. You know, without any of the guilt.
You go to cut the
still
cake.
At no point. Curly's just going. Jimmy, no, come on, Jimmy. Yeah, but he's just kind of like, come on, man. Like, he's never like, no, shut up, like, stop. You know what I mean? Even though, like, he's the boss. You know what I mean? If he wanted to, he could like shut it down.
3 months after the crash, Jimmy is woken up by the sound of Curly moaning in pain. Daisuke and Jimmy are sleeping in the lounge.
Yeah.
I think everyone's sleeping in the lounge at this point.
Everyone is, yeah. You can, if you look around, you can find everyone's little bed thing.
You can see, I feel like I saw somebody in some analysis like point out like where Anya was sleeping. Like she was like kind of like guarded.
Well, I don't know.
Can't remember.
I can't remember if it's the only, you only know which bed is yours and which bed is Dice Case for sure.
Yeah, he's got a Game Boy.
Because he's got the Game Boy and the weights, and you see him sleeping in the bed.
Yes.
And then you get up from your bed. So those are the ones right next to each other. Then there's one at like the foot of that, which was probably Swansea's, you know what I mean? And then Anya's, you're all by the medical door, and then Anya's by the other door. Mm-hmm. Like behind the wall of like the food dispenser.
And yeah, and so just like as a quick, you know, I meant to do this earlier, but you know, the ship is basically there's a cockpit, there's a long hallway. Off that hallway is the cargo bay, the medical bay, and the lounge. And then I guess there were sleeping quarters as well. We never see the sleeping quarters.
No, the sleeping quarters in like in the captain's quarters.
Yeah.
You could walk up to the doors and interact with them on like the ones where it's before the crash, but otherwise they're all foamed up.
Yeah.
And every time you interact with him, he's like, I already checked in there. He's like, I don't need to go back into my, or I'm on the clock. You know?
And so like in the commons area, like the lounge, it's where there's a kitchenette, a little open space. In that space is the Polly statue, which you can go up to and it has like phrases it says.
Yeah.
And there's a dining area, which is just a table. And then like a little like actual like loungy type area where there is a
It's like a
large
60s
video
style
screen.
Like, yeah, there's like a giant window.
Like the
like
pit.
sunken living room. Yeah, yeah.
Those are
like,
so fucking cool.
I think they're sick as hell too.
It's.
Yeah.
I wish I could be having orgies in a big fucking
Just fucking cover it
pit.
in pillows. You know what I mean?
So cool. Have you ever been in one of those in real life?
No, I've never like.
God, I've been in like one house ever that had one of those, and
Yeah.
it was like
It just seems
it's like
so-
a fucking fort.
It seems so fucking cool.
It's really great. It's great for lounging,
That's what Mm-hmm.
which is like you know,
I'm a big
a
lounger.
couch is not a great place to lounge.
Not
it's,
always,
It's
no.
fine.
Well, we have the same exact couch.
Oh really?
Yes, I found that out. I mean, I don't think they're probably not literally the same, but they're basically.
No, they're two separate objects.
You know?
It doesn't teleport from your couch to my couch based on who is viewing it.
But I have the same thing where both of our couches kind of just like fold out into like a day bed, effectively. You know what I mean?
We have a very like thick piece of like memory foam that we put over the whole thing, and it made it so much nicer. But yeah, it just
big loungers,
it's
so.
like a big ball pit for adults, you know.
Yeah. No, that's why it seems great. I fucking want it so
Yeah.
bad. If those are.
And there is something about like going down into something that like it separates you from the terrain you're on. It's like it's a very mental.
It's
threshold
entirely
kind of
mental,
thing.
yeah. But it's like by just going down into it, it is like you said, a fort. You almost feel safer. It's cozier. You're more like enclosed. You know what I mean? It's just like
There's something about the flow of the chi in the room, you know.
the feng shui, if you will.
I really believe in that, you know, very deeply. Because I've been in places where I go, wow, this room was terrible until we moved this table over here, and now it feels good to be in, you know?
Yeah.
So, in that little...
We're all just creating little aquariums for ourselves.
Basically. In that little pit is a large video screen which simulates the sky.
It's like supposed to be the time of day.
Yeah.
Where it's like
And
you have the
you know,
night
I
spent.
imagine it has like, you know, like what's it called? Like the if you're like a loser and you have to sit under a light so you don't get sad in the winter.
UV light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm kidding.
I have to take vitamin D supplements, so I can't say
I take vitamin D supplements because I don't get enough sunlight because going outside is scary.
It's scary.
I'm afraid of all the poor people. No, I'm poor too. I can say that.
Much like we can make fun of alcoholics.
Yes. Basically, we can make fun of anything white people do.
So there's not much we can't make fun of.
And that I wouldn't be surprised if that did have some UV light, or if it was just like meant to like be like, oh, this will help stabilize their moods in the most like, fake fucking way possible.
Yeah, I think it's just
because you're supposed to. You can't like live in a space where you don't have sunlight.
Just ask the Fritzl family. Some of them did it.
I don't know who that is.
You know Joseph Fritzl?
No.
He's doing his absolute best to take back the title of worst Austrian ever. He's got a long way to go, but boy, oh boy, he's doing a good job so far.
I'll have to look it up.
Mm-hmm. It's upsetting.
So Curly is going, oh no, oh, no. You go and find Anya. You go to find Anya. You go in the, this dumb bitch didn't give Curly his pills again. What the fuck? Can't she do anything right? I'm an asshole. And so you go down.
I'm the best and smartest of all of us.
You find Swansea and Anya. I think they're in the cockpit having like a private conversation. She's like, "Oh, I understand, yeah." And he's like, and he's holding the axe. Mm-hmm. You don't really ever find out what they're discussing. My assumption is they're discussing Anya's predicament and how she got into it.
Yes, I think it could be the two of them just kind of being
Have
like...
they formed an alliance, Survivor style?
Yeah, like I know you've been watching so much Survivor, I've heard. They could be forming an alliance. It could kind of be the two of them being like, hey, listen, we seem like the only two. Like, Daisuke's a kid. Jimmy's clearly not, you know what I mean, actually able to handle any of this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe it started out as them being like, let's get on the same page right now. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
I mean, they're the two most grounded people, for sure.
Easily, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though they both are very damaged people.
Yes, but if like it's because Daisuke's so young, he might be... It's not that he's not grounded, but like he's easily manipulated.
Now, I want to ask you something.
Sure.
What the fuck? No. Have you seen The Shining?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Anya is like modeled after Shelley Duvall in The Shining?
I think. Have you seen any of the? So when I was looking up pictures to do the thumbnail, I found the concept art. From
there's concept art from Mouthwashing. I haven't seen any of that.
Let me show you. I think so because here's the Swansea. This is off of the wiki, the Swansea and Anya concept art. Okay.
I don't see how that isn't...
It's Shelley Duvall from The Shining, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Just with like slightly more, not as straight, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do think certain
Swansea's
imagery...
Tim Dillon.
Swansea is, yes. Gay icon, Tim Dillon.
I love anytime anyone asks me, anytime I'm like, have you heard of Tim Dillon? They go, who is he? And I like to just go, oh, he's a gay comedian. I like to say that because that's really couldn't have less to do with his identity. You know what I mean? Like the fact,
not like far right comedian Ron White.
No, yeah.
I have listened to pretty much everything Tim Dillon has ever released. And even some stuff that he tried to bury, it seems. Mm-hmm. I have a deleted episode from the Patreon where they were. I think there's an episode where they were like making fun of Ben after he quit, and they like deleted it.
Yeah. I get why you'd do that though after watching enough Lemon Party. Yeah, I want to make fun of him too, and I don't even know the guy.
But I really feel like Tim Dillon is the best when things are really, really bad in the country. Whenever there's like a barrage of horrible news, That's when he's the funniest.
Yes,
and
I've been
most
watching
on.
him these past few weeks.
Yeah.
Like since everything going on, and it's been good again.
Yeah.
It's been very good again.
Because
They had the one episode with Santino and Bobby Lee, skipped that one. The rest have been fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I said it before, but lock them up.
I think we talked about this on the last video we did.
Yeah, but
yeah. But he's been on fire lately.
yeah,
I agree.
And he did have a big lull where he was like, I don't even want to do the show.
I really love the bit that he was running for a little while where he was like, my wife and my family, we've lost our home in the Palisades. Even though he's like, I sold that house, and honestly, I have no idea if it's fine or not. He went on he did a stand-up. He went and did a Spanish-speaking stand-up set where he went up and he did it for like, he was just like at another friend's show who was doing a Spanish-speaking show.
Did he speak Spanish?
Yeah, he went up on stage and not super well, but he knew enough to just be like, it's crazy what's going on in California, right? Like, es loco, you know what I mean? Con los fuegos. And he's like, mi casa, no más. It's like, he's just in Spanish on stage telling him about how his house
I did not catch that. That's very funny.
great. Made me laugh really hard. But it's mi casa, no más.
When you go, Anya, you dumb bitch, you crying? And she's like, because she like hides her face.
Mm-hmm. You walk in and she's like,
and it's just like, from the first moment you meet Anya, she's like, can you do this for me? I don't really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving Curly his meds. And Jimmy's like, all right, boy, like Pony Express sure likes to cut corners. Did you even like finish medical school? Like, what the fuck? Are you even really a nurse?
Whereas like when she implies that she doesn't really want to give Jimmy his psych eval, Curly is just like, oh, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's
Yeah.
whatever. Like, it shows you the difference between those two people, but also it's clearly trying to like give you this idea of Anya. You know what I mean?
Right, but I feel like, the game, and I mean, eventually we'll get to the big reveal, but the game does do a lot of misdirects where you're kind of like, is Anya like a wimpy loser? Mm-hmm. Or is she protecting herself against a great threat?
Something else to like that I had to remind myself of, like, retrospectively looking back at this, is like, we are getting like very small snippets in these points in time of what these people are doing. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, we'll talk about it more in a moment, but there's a moment where Jimmy's like, I've been doing so much. And then it lists the things he's done. And it's like 4 things.
It's all things that other people ask him
And it's been like 5 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, that's not a lot, really. You know what I mean? Like, how much?
He never took initiative.
No, he
It
never
was like,
just did it on his own.
can you do this,
And he
please?
was like, I guess I'll fucking go. And then every time he's like, I guess if I'm the one who has to fucking do it again.
no one else can fucking do anything around here. Which is funny because, like, that's how, like, when I work from home now. Mm-hmm. But when I was, like, working, like, anytime I had a job, that's how I treat my coworkers.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like how you get stuff done as a male. As
Well,
an alpha male.
it's how you get stuff
respect.
done, but it's also how you get out of doing a lot of stuff.
That's also true.
If you really make it seem like
that's
you're,
also true.
if you make it seem like you're put out a lot and you're just stressed and overwhelmed and I got too much going on. You guys are asking too much of me. Then less will get asked to you.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm. And if you're aggressive and mean, every time someone asks, they'll just stop asking you.
So Anya's like, oh, no, it's fine. I wasn't crying, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, I gotta go give Curly his meds.
Yeah, well, no, he's more like, okay, if you're not crying, you dumb bitch, did you fucking give him his meds yet? Or can you not do that either? And she's like, oh, yes, I forgot. And he's like, Jesus Christ. And he slaps her around a little bit. But.
You go give Curly his meds, you shove the meds down his throat, and then you beat him.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. It like goes to black and you hear the noises, but it is very much like a... You know what I mean? Like...
Now we are in a dream sequence where Curly is seated at a table offering Jimmy some birthday cake. Mm-hmm. Curly gives a speech about how he's just trying to make his life better. He's like, I just want a life that I'm not like ashamed of, or like I want it to be like, always, I just want something that like I'm not worried about, like, could I be doing something better? I want to like something that I can settle
content
for, basically.
Yeah. He just wants to feel content.
Yeah. You are given a request to find the knife. That's your quest. Mm-hmm. So you find the utility axe. You go back to Curly, who is now on the table. Mm-hmm. And this is another time where you have no choice but to do what it tells you, and you are compelled to swing your axe at him.
It cuts before you can actually cut him.
4 months after the crash.
There's another thing Curly says in there, though, that's like kind of like where he's talking about that, where he's like, that like it's going to come up later. And it's like kind of poignant in all of this, where it's like, he's like, life isn't always going to be these giant victories. You know what I mean? These big, great moments. He's like, sometimes the best part of the day is going to be sitting down and eating a shitty piece of cake with your friend. He's like, and so you just have to like take those moments. You know what I mean? And enjoy those when you're in them.
That is like such like a loser outlook on life. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. Way to settle for mediocrity. Me, I'm all about greatness.
I'm all about reaching the top of the mountain.
Personally. Now, at this point in the conversation, I'd like to invite everybody to just take a quick peek here. Now, here's something I like about our channel, okay? This is a game. I've watched like 4 or 5 analysis videos on this game.
Yeah. Not one of them is, first of all, I haven't heard one mention come once.
No, and there is... Anyway. One thing I don't like is that when people are like... I'm not even right. I can't even get into it now. I'm not going to get into it. All I'm saying is... Hidden Machine's the best channel. So many people are such weirdo babies. And I don't get why. There's some uncomfortable subject matter in this game.
Yes.
And people can't outright say what's happening in the story.
Yeah.
They have to kind of skirt around it, and they can't just use the word.
And I get that for some people, it's like, I get that to a degree. For some people, they're like, my video might not get shown to as many people because I say this word.
Shit, loser.
But yeah,
it's a fucking video about a video game.
That's where I'm at. Is I'm kind of like, just fucking say the word. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Let's not be childish about that. If we want to treat this as like high art,
it's and it's like when you see like, I mean, like you'll see reels or shorts all the time where it's like someone will be like, they won't even say something like, he killed this person. It'll be like, this person. You know what I mean? It's like, he killed him. You know what I mean? Like, just say murder. You know what I mean? But like, they won't say stuff like that.
Right.
Because it'll get flagged for this or that.
All I'm trying to say is people are uptight. And so maybe to loosen up, let's all take a communal puff. And I can't help but think of, I feel like I'm being inspired by Red Bar right now.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Where he goes,
let's everybody smoke a little
first
shmee.
Drink, we'll have a little shmee.
Smoke a little shmee.
But also, I like imbibing just responsibly a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
And having a chat.
Yeah. It's a good time.
My lips are so dry. You could tell how dry your lips are.
If it
when
sticks.
You hit the joint,
yeah.
you go, and then you just hear like a tearing noise.
Yeah, I've also had it where my lips are so dry where you go to pull it away and your fingers slide away, but it sticks to
I've been there.
It sticks to your lip.
What is this? A space needle?
Rock flag and eagle.
I can't stand this fucking American flag.
Anytime
bullshit.
I get a lighter Eddie Lane, I tell him give me whichever one, and they always pick. It's usually Derek, and he picks the most obnoxious one he can find.
Eddie Lane. You know, I bought like one lighter in the last like 7 years.
Sarah loses them all the time.
I don't know who you mean.
They do. She's been on the stream.
Friend of the show, Sarah Mundy.
Friend of the show, Sarah Monday.
Hey, speaking of, you know, and this is a little aside as we do this little break in the narrative. I'm gonna just cap that. You can take it if you want.
I'm just gonna put it in the thing.
Okay. I was like,
fucking flopped out.
Would you and Sarah be interested in coming over to film a session of us playing the Survivor board game?
Oh, probably, yeah. I'm sure she'd be into that.
I want to do a deep dive into the Survivor games. They are crazy.
I love your newfound obsession with the Survivor TV series.
Well, it's that both Eve loves it, and I love. Like I was a hardcore fan when it was first on.
I used to take place in a high stakes Survivor pool at one of my last jobs, where every year when Survivor would start up, everyone would put in $50.
Wow,
everyone who worked there,
and that's high stakes to you.
Well, no,
yeah,
I was working there.
No, I
6 years
understand.
ago, but you know what I mean. The prize money was like $500. You
Right.
know what I mean? And all the names of the survivors are put into a hat.
I mean, I don't even watch Survivor unless I'm making $500.
And you pick out 2 names, and then those are your 2 survivors. And if either one of those,
random.
And it's random. And if either one of those makes it to the end, you win.
Oh wow! See, I would have liked it if it were like a fantasy football league where you could but that's impossible
Because they're entire. You have to go entirely off of bios. You know what I mean? Because you can see them on the website beforehand.
Well, that's the thing. You couldn't. I don't know when they started showing like contestants before the season started.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be. This show's been on for what 30 years.
It started in 2000, I believe.
Oh, in 2000. Okay, so 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it had to be probably within the last 10 or 15 years. You know what I mean?
2000, 2001, right around there.
Probably in the past 10, 15 years is probably when they started doing that.
And I stopped watching by like 2009.
Okay.
But I like the original run. Like I was super into it, and then so Eve and I for some reason got onto it, and Eve, my wife, a friend of the show,
friend of the channel, Eve Petroshin,
and I do think it's one of the best shows. Like by far, I think it's one of the best shows ever made. And I don't know if that quality is maintained throughout all of the seasons, because I know that like things shift, and they also like had.
It's a bold statement.
I mean, in term, like, I guess I mean one of the best shows in terms of. I wouldn't compare it directly to
like The Wire, or like.
I guess I mean to say it's one of the best
Breaking
shows. I've never seen Breaking Bad because it was too upsetting. I watched one episode. I go. Yeah, I grew up in a crack house. I don't need to see this. No, I mean on in the realm of television that is game show, reality show,
like reality TV. Okay.
In that realm, not a narrative television, like is a different realm to me.
Yes,
but it's like I can't think of a better game show or reality show.
You ever watch Celebrity Fit Club?
Nah,
it's fucking pretty good.
All right,
did you ever watch the one season of God, what was it called? I think it was literally just like celebrity ghost hunting, where they took a lot of the celebrities from like Surreal Life, Celebrity Fit Club, all those shows.
No,
and put them in
a ghost hunting.
They did a ghost hunting show, yeah. So you've got like Jose Canseco and like Bridget Nielsen ghost hunting. You know what I mean?
I can't say that being better than 47 seasons of Survivor, but
it's fun for a minute though.
It's fun for a minute. But I mean, truly, I mean, there was like stuff that happened on Survivor that
Well, I remember cultural phenomena.
Huge. But like, I don't know if there's a better show, because the concept, even though there is some smoke and mirrors, like I've done a pretty fucking deep dive. And you can tell, like, kind of like how producers have intervened, or what stuff is kind of like, I don't want to say staged per se, but what stuff is, kind of like crafted to look a certain way, or nudged.
edited well, or nudged, or like yes.
Not even the editing. I mean, like in the actual production itself.
Like they're maybe at least suggesting somebody do this, or like push it in a direction.
Yeah, or like, it's like, oh, did they really do that?
Mm-hmm.
But
like coming
especially the first like 3 seasons, because they started like cutting corners over time, and like doing things where it's like there was just like much more safety. They give people water and stuff now. Like in the original, they like straight up did not give you water,
clean drinking water. Yeah,
they didn't give you anything. Now it's like that you have like. It's like you're playing with bumpers on.
If you want to simulate, have you watched that show Alive at all?
Yeah,
that fucking. I've seen 1 season of it, only the first season, and like, goddamn, is that like? It's not as compelling because they're filming it themselves.
I know that's cool, but this is like the way that it marries those concepts to like the thrill of like a reality show drama.
Yeah, like the real world, like Road Rules kind of shit, where you're doing stupid challenges.
It's like okay, yeah, I love the real world, but what if they were all like on the verge of dying? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, no, I do. I do know exactly what you mean.
And like those first, like, I mean, even like we're on season 9 or 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first like 3 seasons, especially when they're in Africa, like it's so fucking hardcore. It's crazy how fucking hardcore it is. Mm-hmm. Where like one of the guys was saying, "Oh yeah, they told us like there was like guys like guards with guns around the camp, but we never saw them, so we didn't really know if that was true." Mm-hmm. And that they were like hearing lions nearby all the time. What you had to do. You had a enclosed encampment with like a wall,
basically
a fence wall, and you had a fire on the outside and a fire on the inside. Which the fire was supposed to deter the lions for some reason.
Right. Who knows?
And that you had to have 24-hour shifts where one of the teammates. And so it's like they did have a production crew out there and everything, but it seemed like, especially those first few seasons, they were winging it pretty hardcore to the point where it's like, it's
maybe somebody gets got by a lion,
and you know
maybe they don't get.
You know why? Also, there's a lot of lawsuits right now surrounding the Mr. Beast show on Amazon. Beast Games. Have you watched that?
I've seen clips from it because it's just
I've watched the first
Games
2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah,
it is very compelling.
Yeah,
it's really good, and it's almost as good as Survivor, except it's so fucking fake.
Yeah.
Whereas Survivor, I know, had the editing and the storyline is like they're crafting a narrative based on the footage. I get that. That's totally fine to me.
Yeah.
I don't care if the story's fake. What I think is interesting is that it's like real people, even if they're being put into a play, essentially, it's still like their performance is being given while they're in the element and really fucking out there. Whereas the Beast Games, like, I know that's happening, but they're trying to make it like it's not happening.
Oh, okay.
That's why they're covering like the lawsuits. Like, people are having legitimate health issues and like safety issues, and it was like that. Like the Beast Games show was like fucked up. Like, people got hurt.
Yeah,
and there was even some sexual assault.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I don't know, like, I can't speak to any of the specifics of like the events or legitimacy of any of the claims. But just
it feels like it feels like the kind of thing where there might not have been a ton of oversight or
no, because there wasn't on Survivor.
Yeah,
until they did a few seasons, they're like, okay, well, liability, and they also one of the contestants, the guy who first won the first season, Richard Hatch, he went to jail for a while for like a tax issue.
Okay.
Related to the winnings.
Oh, okay.
And they like the producers at CBS like tried to get the contestants in through like some sort of like some particular visa where they got into Malaysia to try to like avoid the tax burden.
Oh.
And like CBS just like totally like snaked this like weird thing and got busted.
Jesus Christ.
And kind of like through their legal expertise were able to like put the responsibility on the contestant, and he did the time for it.
Jesus Christ, that's awful.
And that's from the first season. So I mean, a lot of that stuff is not how the show has been for a very, very, very long time.
Yes, but still,
those first few seasons are something that I would say, holy shit! If you love media, check those out. Like at least the first 3, and then stay tuned for the Hidden Machine deep dive into all the video games, because somebody who was on Survivor was like, I'm going to make a Survivor game. And then had like a 7-year Kickstarter drama where he never made the game. It's like there's a crazy story to be told here.
Well, I'm interested to get into it. I'll definitely play the board game. But
cool.
If you want to get into raw reality TV, go to fishtank.tv.
I also think Fish Tank is very interesting.
I can't handle it.
Have you watched the edited episodes?
No.
Because, okay, I think the concept of Fish Tank as a live thing where you're looking at the feed and everything and swapping cams.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Sucks to watch. It sounds like shit. It looks like shit. You have no idea what's going on. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The chat is disgusting.
Yeah,
but they have
the worst people in the world.
They have edited episodes.
Oh, okay.
And I think season 2 is up. I could be wrong.
I think they're filming season 3 now or something, and season 2's up or something.
I was like extremely impressed by the slickness of the edited episodes.
Oh yeah, I'll check it out.
It's totally. If you were like, oh, I want to see what this is, and then we're like, this fucking sucks. What? It's like,
watch the episode.
The episode. It's very well produced. It looks good. It sounds good. You're just like, it's just crazy, like the whole like aesthetic of the apartment. I think it's the second season I'm thinking of where they had like the 70s vibe.
Yeah, because the first season is literally just like the house,
the hell house.
Yeah, the house they got. You know what I mean? Like,
the second season episodes are like really fucking sick.
Okay.
They look clean.
Hell yeah.
Very surprised. Anyway, but also yeah, fuck that show kind of.
Yeah.
Also. I've said before, and I'm getting all my detours out. I I am a fan of some of Sam Hyde's comedy for sure.
Yes.
But like, especially in the last few weeks, it's just like, man, like, he's such a chud, and he's so like.
Did you watch the Dear Elon thing or anything like that?
I listened to it, yeah.
I listened to Dear Elon, and I was like, there was like a few points he made where I was like, yeah, I agree with you.
I agree.
Or I get where you're coming from.
I agree with him, but I don't agree with like sort of like all of the racist, what I perceive to be like white supremacist or like nationalistic stuff. Where I just don't adhere to that, and I do think it's like
there seems
disgusting.
to be like genuine anti-Semitism,
like deep, but like
you know what I mean?
And not, but in the kind of way where it's like, well, I'm an intellectual. I'm justifying that thought. It's like, no, I'm not being anti-Semitic. It's just the logical conclusion.
Yes.
And
he's presenting it as more like, it's not anti-Semitic. It's just, this is how it is. And this is what's happening.
And it's like, I don't really, I don't know how to say it like in a way that doesn't sound insincere, but like, yeah, fuck that. I don't adhere to any of that. I'm very much against that.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is like the concept in any case, I think that there's like any sort of like culture or like race is like conspiring as one large group is an absurd, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's an absurd.
I mean, just look at how people are treated.
Yes, It's an absurd thing to think of, like, okay, maybe there's a bunch of people doing this thing and a lot of them happen to be of this culture. Okay, it's a coincidence. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think the biggest illustration is if you've ever met someone who's like from Israel who doesn't agree with the actions of the Israeli government, it's like, I mean, because that's an intense situation over there.
Yes.
And people are being painted as being complicit to that. And now, that's not to say a lot of the population is complicit, and they're totally for it. And they are purposefully, I've seen videos that are like, hey, like, do you know how many civilian casualties or child casualties there were during this, whatever period of time? People just go like, I choose not to think about that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I get that, but also
that like in our country we have people right now who like if Donald Trump actually started killing all the immigrants, they would be like, hell yeah, you know what I mean? And
that's the thing. But there would also be people who are like, oh, I don't know, I just choose not to look at it.
Yes, they're also just to bury your head in the sand. Yeah.
So it's like, it's very fucked up, but it's just so insane to like, even as us right now, and especially any Americans who are critical of anyone for that kind of stuff. How much stuff happens in the name of our U.S. government that is like the most
heinous
shit. Yeah, just so you're like, holy shit, like this keeps me up if I think about it. Horrific crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not
that guy. But then also, at times, we have to just go through most of our lives, and so to a degree, we have to go, well, what do you want me to do about that? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you want me to do about that?
That's where I'm at right now, is like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. I mean, if you have something
what can I do?
If you have something for me to do, I'm there, you know what I mean? But
it's like,
also, right now, I'm trying to pay rent, you know what I mean?
Survival is one thing, and also just like, a lot of these forces are so much greater than us that we as citizens, like, what do we have? Well, direct action is pretty much a futile route. You can look at examples of it. Show me one successful one against an empire like the U.S. That doesn't exist. It's not, not as a viable response. And even then, it's like, you can't vote like in any kind of meaningful way. Like, vote for who? Vote for who? Like,
I've been rewatching the first season of Always Sunny, and they have the funny moment where all the guys, Dennis and Charlie and them, are like, no, we don't vote. And Dee's like, how can you not vote? And Dennis goes, what do you want me to vote for? The Republican who's going to blast me in the ass, or for the Democrat who's blasting my ass? And that's how it is. It's like, well, who am I voting for? You know what I mean? Who do you want me to vote for?
Well, it's like, and some people tell me like, oh, I have a responsibility to me. Like, oh, you have a responsibility to like vote for the lesser.
I got guilted into voting in the last election.
Yeah, you have a responsibility to vote for the lesser of two evils, basically. And it's just like, at a certain point, it's like, okay, the morality of it, whether you should or shouldn't vote or whatever, it's just clear that no matter who you vote for, and this is the illusion of choice, they're still...
So this is it's tied into the game.
It is. Well, that's why I think it's how these themes affect us, in our own lives on a greater level, outside of our interpersonal relationships. Is like, these forces are going to do the thing, and they're both part of the same overall system. Yes, they represent two sides of the coin, but it's the same coin. And the MAGA side is definitely more overtly racist. I don't think that the Democrat side if we were to actually measure the direct impact on individuals, I don't know how significantly less racist it is when they do things like prop up for-profit prisons and, you know, different international sort of interventions they might get into. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well,
It's
there's like a massive problem amongst with neoliberalism right now. You know what I mean? Where it's like this idea of like you're just virtue signaling and you're just doing this and this, and it's like you're trying to say, or like everything that happened with like the Black Lives Matter movement, where you're like, yes, yeah, that is a good movement. Yes, the sentiment behind this is like correct. Yes, I'm all for it. However, the organization itself, if me saying that the organization was corrupt and bad and they did horrible things, the wrong person hearing that would call me a racist. You know what I mean? And like that's the discourse we exist in right now.
Yeah, you can't separate the message from the actions.
Exactly. And it's like the Democrats are very good at that. So that's why it's like it's hard to tell if they are any less racist, because they're very good at putting up the smoke screens and putting this social movement into this corporation or doing, you know what I mean, or into this like entity.
Right.
And then,
it's very common to take like a political message that you think is altruistic and is like progressive and whatever, and for someone to come in and just
co-opt
capitalize it and capitalize on it and co-opt it. Yeah. And it's, you know, it happens everywhere. Like modern feminism was propped up, you know, by corporate interests who, you know, and this is not, and like women have, you know, that were in the movement have talked about this. You know, this is not like a conspiracy or to like undermine the efforts of any feminist like leaders, but there was a vested interest to break up the family and increase the like worker population.
And then also it's increasing the amount of that's when you have two incomes in a household, then there's more people you can sell stuff to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's literally just, they're just trying to sell more stuff to us.
Yeah, that's all it is. They're just trying, like rich people trying to stay rich. And so it's like, yes, I guess I mean to say, when I say break up the family, I'm not like because they're evil and they don't want you to have a family. It's because that's how you take one unit and turn it into two units of consumers.
Now you have two Christmases for one family. You know what I mean? So it's
so anyway, it's just like, you know, it's so common for these things to get scooped up, and then it's like, I'm not bashing the message. I'm down 100%, but sometimes it's hard. It's very hard.
It gets perverted. Things get perverted.
Like, and this is maybe a little deeper than we've ever gotten, but as a kid, I remember we had a pastor at my church. I was in some sort of Christian denomination church. I'm not sure what it was. Like it was more of a, you know,
Matt was at the Westboro Baptist.
No, not until I was an adult. That was not
a decision.
Yeah, no. It was like a modern kind of casual church, and people, you know, dressed nice, but also it was like it wasn't like super ritualistic and formal.
It wasn't Catholic.
Yeah, no, not by any means. Yeah. So anyway, the pastor had an affair and like was getting a divorce, and like it gave all these people like this like crisis of faith. And to me, I must have been like 9 or 10. I just remember thinking like, he's just a guy. Yeah. He's gonna sin. He's gonna do that's gonna happen. Like people are gonna make mistakes. You can't just say like, oh, well, because you have this position, you're now like my like bastion of morality, and I look to you, and if you can't do it, then that means I'm fucked. And rather than just going like, well, yes, this is what he aims for, this is who he hopes to be, this is what he believes in, it doesn't mean that you can't like deviate from that and make mistakes, and that people will be caught up in those mistakes. But even like the Bible itself like talks about that, like no man is not gonna, you know, sin in their lifetime.
That's why you're allowed to be forgiven for things. That's why you're allowed
to that's the whole fucking system. So it's like, you know, it was just very interesting to me to see so many like adults be like, oh no, I don't know what I believe in now. It's like, whoa, like, do you not like?
It's a very weird phenomena,
because you can see if it's a system of forgiveness and admission of guilt and growth and trying to, you know, learn from your mistakes and become better, then like if someone is then in the position where they need to be doing that, why is that so hard for people to see? Like what part of the process they focused on that when they see the big picture, it knocks them on their ass? That's what I think the game is about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's like, it's those same mindsets are like how we have like the people who love Donald Trump the way they love Donald Trump. You know what I mean? It's because people will to take away personal responsibility and to take away like this burden of choice.
Yeah.
For all these things, people will put that power into someone else, and once they've given that power to someone else, it's hard for them to accept that like they've given this power to someone else who's just them.
Who's just someone else.
It's just someone else. Yeah. It's just another guy or another girl or another whatever. It's just another fucking person who's just as capable of being flawed and fucking up as you. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
You know, this to get off topic for a moment. I do think that like coming to terms with that is really crucial to having self-confidence. Because, like, when you just know that, like, every other person around you is, like, just as potentially good or bad at anything as you are.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, well, it's like, yeah, this person might be able to do this, or they might not be able to do that. And you just don't know. You can't, and just, like, you can't just, you like, ascribe anyone to be.
No, and you can't compare yourself because it's like, yeah, like you're saying, okay, like, you're way better at guitar than I could ever possibly be. You know what I mean? Like, hands down. I can cook way better than you. You know what I mean?
You haven't tried my eggs.
That's fair. But like, that's my point. It's like, it doesn't matter. Everybody has something that they're good at or they're not good at. And you know what I mean? You can't like compare and contrast those things with other people. You just have to like find a way to just be contented with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And feel okay about it. You know what I mean? And just be like, ultimately, it doesn't matter. I'm not that great at drums. I still fucking love playing the drums. I'll go play them live. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun. At gigs, I'll be like, well, that guy... The next band that plays, I'm like, that drummer's way fucking better than me. It's still fun watching him, you know what I mean? And I just try to be like, ooh, look at what he's doing there. You can learn something, you know?
Yeah, you can learn something. It's not a threat. It's just like...
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, loving yourself, loving where you're at, and just not allowing someone else's ability or lack of ability to really impact you all that much. You gotta just kind of accept that people are going to just... do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's another big theme of the game, I think. But also,
Yes.
yeah, that's just something I think about a lot because I talk to a lot of people who have, like, they kind of just have, like, self-confidence issues. And, like, I might be a little egotistical, but I also just, like, don't, like, I also love and respect people very deeply.
Yeah.
And I just see myself as, like, I'm like, there's no reason why I would put myself beneath almost anyone.
Yeah.
On just a social level. It's just like, well... we're just different. To like create a hierarchy is like a thing that I just don't really want to engage
like
in.
conversely, I'd never put myself. I'd never feel above or below. I was outside smoking some weed the other day during work. I had a guy walk up to me, ask me if I knew where he could find any crack.
And did you give him my number?
I had slipped my mind in the moment, but I didn't yell at him. I just went, "No, man, I don't know. I don't know."
And I am slanging rocks, just in case anyone wants to know.
But it's like I feel like, you know,
I'm not.
he's just a guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, don't ask me for crack, but also like that's just a fucking dude.
Yeah, I've had the same experience.
He could be
I've
having
had
a
the
hard
experience.
time.
People are like, "Oh, can you believe what he said?" And it's like, yeah. I mean, it sucks that he's smoking crack. I wish he wasn't, but also, he's just a guy.
He's just a dude.
He's just a guy asking a question.
He asked me as if he was asking me if I knew where to get like a slice of pizza. You know what I mean? He wasn't aggressive.
For him, he's just smoking crack.
He's just exactly. He's just trying to smoke some crack.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, that can go to some very extreme places. Yes. But on its core, it doesn't mean you just gotta go. It's just what the guy's doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I didn't call the police. I didn't yell at him. I didn't freak out. I was just,
Obviously, later on down the line, his behaviors, his actions might lead to a catastrophic situation. That's kind of out of your control.
Hey, I didn't get him more crack.
If he wants to get it, he's gonna get it.
The
U.S. government has made sure that we have access to that stuff.
We wouldn't have it if not for them.
So Curly, it's 3 months after the crash. Curly is moaning in pain. Jimmy is woken up by the sound. You can see that the crew is sleeping in the commons area. You go to Anya. Her and Swansea are having that private conversation. He's on the axe. She's crying.
You comment on the axe.
Yeah.
And Swansea's like, it's just force of habit at this point. Don't overthink it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Deflecting. Mm-hmm. So, you have the scene with Curly. He's at the table. You go back, get the axe, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You go to swing into him. Mm-hmm. Damn, son, where'd you find 4 months after the crash? You must now check on the crew. That's your latest directive, yes. Quest. Your quest. And one thing I hate is there's like no quest markers. I had no idea where to go in this game. I was so lost.
There was no button I could press in Dead Space, and I didn't go. And it went.
I go, how do I get there? I don't even see like an arrow or a glowing orb.
There's no mini map. Give me fucking nothing. There's no yellow dot on the map.
Fucked. There was like barely any quest tracking at all.
No waypoints.
Also, fast travel much? Not here.
I have to walk to utility?
I don't even want to talk about it. This game sucks. No, so
Let's just talk about Survivor.
So it's 4 months after the crash. You must now check on the crew. I'm trying to prime people for this sick ass Survivor video that we're gonna do. You must now check on the crew. Daisuke is passed out from drinking, and he explains that his mother got him the job, and he didn't really seem to realize what he was getting into. And he just hopes that she doesn't feel responsible for his death, his impending doom. You see Anya, who is contemplating drinking the mouthwash. She says that she has some medicine that is in a cabinet, but the cabinet's blocked by foam. She was like, I didn't bring it up because I thought it would be too dangerous to get to, but now we're kind of like in that dire of a situation where maybe that's the thing to do. So you must now go get the axe from Swansea. He's drunk and pissed, and he's at
at first he's not pissed when you come up to him.
Well, he's drunk.
He's drunk and he's
pissed in
he's pissed. He's pissed in the British sense of the term. But he's just he's vibing out hard. He's dancing around. He's like, Captain Jimbo. And that's what I called him, Captain Jimbo, for the rest of the playthrough.
That's good.
Before and after. But Captain Jimbo is just way more fun.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Just like calling him Captain Curly.
Captain Curly.
Captain Curly. Instead of just Curly. It's fun.
Swansea launches the axe into the video screen and is like, there you go, idiot.
Swansea is he's... Like you said, they're all very flawed characters. Swansea's like a very fun character through most of this because he is really the only one who's kind of like bucking. You know what I mean?
Ever so slightly. He's a real, to me, I know so many American guys who are like 50 to 70 who are like him.
Yes. Well, it's that idea of like, I'm trying to think of the way to like word this well.
To me, he's a bit of a conformist who also has like a spark of individualism because of like where he was born or whatever, and like in time, I mean.
Yes.
And he goes with the flow, but he'll be like, I knew it was wrong, damn it.
He has like a "Don't Tread on Me" flag on the back of his truck.
Yeah.
But also he voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Quite
possibly, yeah. Where it's like, yo, man, what are you really about? Because you kind of got these two conflicting ideologies.
They're not really, they don't mesh too well here.
So you get the axe out of the screen, you get the meds. Anya's like, oh, thank you. You're so, you're doing so good. Thank you.
You're so strong and capable and such a good captain.
Yeah. This is where Jimmy, like as we discussed earlier, freaks out, and you see the little list of all your tasks.
I really liked this part.
It was very good.
As he lists each thing that he did, it gives you like the mission.
It shows on the HUD.
It gives it again to you like you were getting it the first time.
Like crosses off. And it's like, to me, it's like that scene in Max Payne where he's like seeing the HUD in his dream after he gets drugged in the office. But I think the first time Nicole Horn drugs him, you see like the guns.
It gets very meta for a minute.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. To me, it's just like anything that like dips into like, it's a video game. Like even in like Killer 7 when there was sometimes like pixel art and stuff like throughout the game.
Oh, yes.
Randomly. Just little things. Or like some of the 8-bit sound effects when you got items every once in a while. Like they're just like small decisions where it's like, okay, yes, we have this like artistic
thing.
But also like, it's a Nintendo game. It's just a game. It's the games that you've been playing since 1983. Same shit.
And I think I like that in games because a lot of times you don't see that in a game that takes itself too seriously. You know what I mean? And this is a game that, while it has like very heavy subject matter, it's still kind of funny every now and then. You know what I mean?
Well, I think having that kind of levity is we discussed this, I think, in our last episode as well, but like, you know, in the Silent Hill series, seeing that kind of thing happen, and to a lesser degree, I think, in Resident Evil, I went back in and I was like, I don't really remember any comedy in Resident Evil. There are some notes and like references and Easter eggs that I think you could kind of count as humorous, but it's not the same sort of like almost fourth wall breaking goofiness.
Resident Evil 4 is probably the funniest one.
Yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
And even that, half of it is just the absurdity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whereas there are a handful of just straight up bad jokes also, you know what I mean? But like then there's just like fucking Salazar's funny, Giant Salazar's funny, you know what I mean?
Doesn't he say like, man, I wish you can remember what he said. Something like, give me a hand, and he like shoots his hand. I can't remember what he fucking said.
Yeah, there's little shit like that,
Yeah.
like cheesy 80s action movie kind of shit.
Yes, one-liners for sure. So you're kind of just like, nobody respects me. I'm doing all this stuff. Nobody fucking does anything. Look at everything I did. And Anya's just like, you know, she can't really argue with you.
Yeah, well, and she's just kind of like, all right, fine, I'll do it then. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I can give him the pills.
But you give Curly the painkillers, and Jimmy says to Curly, you know, I'm gonna get us both out of this.
That's something he keeps saying to everybody anytime anything goes wrong. Jimmy's very much like, don't worry, I can fix this. I'll fix it. I got this. You know what I mean?
It's like, okay. So this is the other kind of like main element that the story is based around, which is the judgment. 6 hours until judgment. So there's the crash and the judgment are the two major events.
Yes.
Everything is
Based around.
yes. Jimmy locks a door and Swansea is chasing after him with an axe. He breaks through the glass in the door, and then this is a short.
Yeah, you have to like grab two things in the room to like seal, to like get the door secured. One of which is a piece of nylon rope, which if you interact with it as Curly, he says, a length of nylon rope. He goes, Jimmy bet me 50 credits that this would never see the outside of this locker. So far, he's winning.
Wow.
And then later, Jimmy has to rip the nylon rope out of the locker to tie the metal pipe to the handle of the door so Swansea can't get in.
2 days before the crash, Anya and Curly are in the lounge, and Anya mentions the dead pixel on the video screen. There's like a single dead pixel. If you don't know what that is, it's literally, if you think of your screen as a series of, you know, small little squares, just one of them is not lighting up. So you have this one little
If they're all
black
just,
dot.
imagine each pixel is like a light bulb. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? One of the light bulbs died.
Like a light bright.
Just like a light bright.
Curly says he doesn't really see it and it doesn't bother him because he chooses to look at the big picture, you know, rather than
Rather than focusing and zooming in on the details, he's just looking at the image as a whole.
Anya asks how much of the trip is left, and Curly gives the number in days, and he's trying to do the month to see how many months it is, and Anya says 8 months. Then Anya asks why the Pony Express put a lock on the medical room door, but not in the sleeping quarters. Curly says, probably for the same reason there's a lock, you know, on the cockpit or whatever. He's like, it must be just for safety. And now, earlier, before we started this video, we had a brief discussion on whether or
Have
not
we gotten to that yet?
well, this is the first sort of like time where I think it's brought up that Anya, I will just give some spoilers now because this is where
Yeah, we
it
might
really,
as well. We're about halfway through, or a little further.
Anya's
probably.
pregnant with Jimmy's child.
Yes.
It's not said explicitly that he raped her.
Yes, which is something that I was, because in watching all of the, when I started watching all of the, like other videos that have been done on this, everyone says that. Everyone is like, he sexually assaulted her, you know what I mean, or raped her to like.
But you
Get her
weren't
pregnant.
sure about that.
I didn't pick that up. I played through it twice, and while I get that it's like, as soon as it was said, and then I started looking at it in that context, I was like, okay, there are a lot of suggestions of that, you know what I mean, and hints to that.
But you didn't pick up on them.
Didn't pick up on them at first, and I think that's partially because
That's because you're a Curly.
it's because I'm a Curly. But no, I didn't pick up on them at first because I didn't. The first playthrough, obviously, you don't really know what's going on. You know what I mean? Until the big reveal, you don't know what's going on, and we're not even there yet in this. But also, it's just like, because it's never explicitly said. I was also confused. I think I even said it in my stream last night when I was playing Mouthwashing, but I was like, why are they all freaking out about her being pregnant? I was like, if she's pregnant, are you not allowed to like get pregnant on the ship? Is that like against company policy or something? I was like, in my mind, I was like, what's the issue with her being pregnant other than maybe him not wanting to take responsibility? Because I didn't realize that it wasn't, you know what I mean? I didn't catch all the implications that it wasn't consensual.
Okay, so in terms of it being consensual or not, I agree. I also didn't entirely pick up on it. And because I wasn't thinking about this line in particular when she asks why they're not locks in the bedrooms. It's like, okay, well, that's it. Obviously, the only reason she would want a lock on her bedroom is to keep someone from forcefully entering it, which is what Jimmy did, and that's that.
That is, yeah.
It's and that also explains more of the weight of why Jimmy feels he has to take care of the situation the way he has
to fix everything, quote unquote.
So wholly.
In the same way why Anya is so mousy around Jimmy and why she's so like, can you help me? Never mind. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. And it explains a lot of stuff. And I guess I just didn't pick up on it on the first time through. First time through, I just thought it was like they had a moment of weakness. She got pregnant and she's like, fuck, this asshole got me pregnant.
That's what I thought it was too. More just like clearly not a guy she wanted to be involved with, but through some series of events it happened, which it happens. You sleep with people you don't necessarily think you should. Like later you're like, wow, I shouldn't have done that.
But it's also like in my mind, I'm like, you've been on the ship for 5 months now. You know what I mean?
It's an extreme situation.
You're the two people near each other's age who aren't in a place of authority. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know.
But I think that, you know, as we discussed the rest of the game, you know, a lot of it is, and this is why I think it's so strong, is that even though, like, when you have all the pieces and you examine them, you can put the story together fully.
Yes.
But to me, it really says something about myself, my own perspective, where my mind didn't immediately go to, you know, to that. Because I just thought it was like, even when she was talking about her fear of, like, Anya at certain points, like, saying, I don't want to do a psych evaluation, or that she's, like, kind of afraid of him. I thought that was because he's unstable. I didn't think it, you know.
I really just thought it was because he's an asshole.
Right.
And he's mean to her sometimes. And he's dismissive of her, you know what I mean? And he's mean to everybody, kind of.
And I will say, I still don't think the game even explicitly ever states that he did actually assault her sexually.
No. Yeah. I played through it twice.
It's just, as I look at it more and more, I can't see it any other way.
Oh, no. There's no... This, like you just said, this interaction with Curly.
But do you feel like there is still open to interpretation? Because the other thing is, it's just like, is her fear based on that one interaction? Or is her fear based on, you know, a more general sense of, this guy is super not well?
This could be, so what it could be, because clearly at this point she's already pregnant, because she's asking about the timeline. So it could be that she's wondering why the doors are unlocked because she's afraid that he's going to retaliate. Not retaliate, but she's pregnant. He's going to fix it. You know what I mean? He's going to make sure she's not pregnant anymore. Or he's going to kill her so she can't, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. But that all seems extreme for just a pregnancy. You know what I mean?
It does. And that's, okay, that's the other reason why I lean toward it being the case, because... So because Jimmy also seems to have shame, where it's like, you shouldn't be ashamed of just having a kid.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
even if it is like an accident.
I get being scared, you know what I mean? But like the shame's a weird thing, and that's the whole.
Yeah.
No,
you're totally right.
The implications that Curly failed in some way. You know what I mean? By allowing that to happen, whereas it's like, what is it Curly's responsibility not let his crewmates fuck? You know what I mean? Like, they're adults, you know what I mean? They can have sex with each other. Like, why is that, you know?
Right.
So that's really, when you put all the pieces together, it's hard to come to another conclusion.
I agree.
You know what I mean? But I think
it's very much open.
I'm sure you could make the argument the other way. You know
I think it's very much open to interpretation.
Anything that you don't anything you don't outright say, right? I suppose is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what I mean to say,
I think
a reasonable assumption can be made, but I think that, like, to me, it's not locked in until I put everything together. Because when I see certain scenes out of context, I can see why it's like, oh, It couldn't have been anything that crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's basically Curly's response is like, well, okay, so it's Jimmy's kid. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? It's like, he's not, all throughout, like, the story, you see Curly is, like, not really, like, able to be like, oh, no, things are that bad, or things could even thinking that things could be that bad.
Yes.
He's kind of, like, not able to really get there.
Well, it's like even from everything from, like, they added Daisuke on last minute. They don't have the rations for him or the cryos pod for him. You know what I mean? If something were to go wrong.
The scene is fucked from the start.
And he just kind of goes, whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? When he's like,
That's a great point.
Or even with, like, Swansea, when he's like, that happens with Daisuke, you know what I mean? Which isn't Swansea's fault. Because Swansea has been telling him not to do it. What you should do is the captain should put some sort of discipline.
When Daisuke goes into the vent and injures himself.
He should have disciplined Daisuke. Instead, he goes, Swansea, don't let this happen again.
Yeah.
He just passes the buck. You know what I mean? Again, very similar to another person.
So basically, the previous scene ends with Curly just kind of being like, oh, it's probably just to keep us safe. And it's like, she's asking why there's not locks in the bedrooms. You think it's for safety?
Yeah.
That's a great illustration of how his perspective on things is just in the clouds.
Yes, he's very much an airhead is a very good way to put it.
I can't, be mad at him, really. It's just kind of like, I also imagine him to be very gullible.
It's hard to say. It's one of those things where it's like, there's someone you mentioned earlier who you compare him to, a real life person we know. And it's like, I don't know if it is gullible or if it's just like lack of backbone / lack of like desire for any sort of confrontation. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
it's like, it's where you go and
Just more submissive.
Yeah. And because you don't want that, you're very good at just kind of like compartmentalizing shit and just being like, all right, put that in the back. You know what I mean? And just keep going. Cause I don't want to deal with that.
That does seem more accurate, to be honest. So, flash forward to 5 months after the crash. Daisuke rushes to Jimmy, saying that Anya is trapped in the medical room. Anya says she's not trapped and that she has locked herself involuntarily.
I love that moment where you guys are like pounding on the door, yelling at her for a while, asking her how she's tried to get out, and then finally you just go, Anya, is the door locked? And she goes, or is the door stuck? And she goes, no. You go, what do you mean? She goes, I locked it. You're like, oh, like should have started there.
This is where when she's talking to Jimmy, she says, you were right all along. You were right all along. All along. I should have done this from the beginning. There's a vent from utility that could lead to medical, and Swansea is still blocking the door to utility. So you're like, what's going on there? And Jimmy suspects that Anya is going to hurt Curly. That's what he's like saying to Daisuke.
Yes.
Then scene swap, 8 hours until judgment. Daisuke is on the ground, writhing in pain. Jimmy says, like he always says, he can fix it. Swansea is fed up with him saying that kind of stuff. Swansea suggests that there is some disinfectant left over, but Jimmy says that it's already used, and Swansea was the one that forced him to use it because he wouldn't move, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So you have to go find something else. If you go to medical, you cannot see Curly and Anya.
Yeah,
the screen
whole
is like
side is just like it's all white and blurry, and it kind of glitches out as you look left and right.
So you go to the cargo area, you see a tombstone. There's a hibiscus flower on it. Daisuke's got hibiscus flowers all over his shirt. No way. I think that's called foreshadowing. So so you use your code scanner on the tombstone and it disappears, and you follow a trail of blood down some stairs, and you're in like, I don't know how to put this. You're just like in a dreamscape, basically.
Yeah.
Like an industrial dreamscape.
Yes. And you're just kind of walking across like, not like catwalks, but just, I don't know.
But they're like catwalks.
Yeah, they're kind of like catwalks, but it's all one level,
Yeah. You see a note that says, a blind beast, aimless and restless. You can't run from it. I have a blind beast trying to get in the room right now.
It's like the cat outside the door right now.
So this is the first of several, I guess we'll say like boss style encounters, enemy encounters.
There's only, I think there's like 3 maybe in the whole game, you know what I mean, where you're really like any sort of like potential for injury.
So the idea is that at the end of this course, you need to get to a point where you'll find a bottle of mouthwash as you're trying to get some kind of disinfectant to use on Daisuke's wounds.
Yes.
and there's like almost like on a track, there's like a enemy, an invisible enemy.
Yes,
like rushing around.
It's like above you.
Yeah.
On the track.
But you can hear it and feel it and things like,
And there's actually a point where if you walk
it's like a
to
subway
there's
train.
like collapsed sections of the catwalk that you can't pass. And if you look at them with the scanner, it's like the body of the creature, you know what I mean? Just like laying down across it, kind of showing you how massive this thing is in scale.
I see. I don't know if I caught that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like Leviathan.
This part
level.
stretched me out. It stressed me out. This part stretched me out.
I've seen lots of videos with creatures that look like this where there is someone getting stretched out.
I didn't like this part. I don't like stealth. So you have to like basically stealth your way across this like map, but it's not totally clear where you're supposed to go.
It's not really
It's like a little bit of a maze.
Well, it is. If you look at the ground with the scanner, you can follow the blood trail.
Okay, I must have just lost track of that, to be honest.
Well, because it's the blood trail will lead to the section where it's blocked by the thing's body, and then you have to like turn away and go around. You know what I mean? But you can usually see how to get there from where you're standing, and then you can just sprint. It says you can't run. You can fucking run the whole time if you want to, but just when it does the thing where it starts shaking and then the screen starts to get weird and you know it's near you, you have to stop moving. And
Okay, yeah, because otherwise you can move slowly or you can walk on tarps at times to like move your footsteps more. That's just psychological. That's not really
just psychological. If you run, it'll come at you faster. You know what I
see.
mean? But then
But you can balance that.
no matter what, as long as you stop as soon as the cue happens, that it's like
I think when I finally got sick of fucking doing this, I found that out for myself. Because I just didn't like this
because I
part.
died like 4 or 5 times
Yeah, I did
because I
too.
was just like, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm just an idiot.
I just accept like I just don't like this kind of stuff, but I'm it's whatever. I just don't like to deal with stealth stuff.
Yeah, well, and stuff like that. This like it's like we were saying, what is it, Nemesis or Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. I'm like, just fuck that. I hate that.
I'm just like, it's just not for me.
Don't need that in my life or in my games.
When you finally do reach the Poly statue and you get the mouthwash, you just like teleport back to Daisuke and you pour it on him, for disinfectant, and like Anya said immediately, oh, the sugar content in here like negates its ability to
Any
be a
sort of like
disinfectant.
disinfectant, yeah.
Jimmy just doesn't fucking care.
I don't think Jimmy has listened to Anya at any point throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
I think he barely. There's going to be a couple things that happen soon that will kind of show you that I really don't think Jimmy looks at Anya as like a person at all. Or as an equal.
Entirely.
You know what I mean? That like, yeah.
5 months after the crash, Jimmy and Daisuke believe that Anya might be hurting Curly in the locked medical area. Jimmy creates a cocktail to drug Swansea. So again, you have to use the little recipe machine to make a cocktail, except you put in
mouthwash, isopropyl alcohol, and sweetener.
Yeah.
And somehow that gets you a cocktail.
Bye, bud. You give it to Swansea. And at one point, Jimmy's like, oh, he won't even remember. And it's fine. It's kind of like, how do you know how to drug people so they don't remember stuff? Again, pointing to his big rapey vibes, which kind of like, did just kind of go over my head a little bit.
Yeah, that he just kind of knew how to be like,
baby,
I can knock him out. You know what I mean? He's got to have his limits, and he'll fucking, yeah.
So he goes out. You can finally, he's like Snorlax. You can finally cross into Pallet Town or wherever you're going.
Yeah. You have the poke flute.
Yeah, and you go into the utility room, and he's been saying, "Oh, it's too fragile for anyone to go in there. It's all fucked." You're like, "There's not that much foam in here at all.
Hardly any foam."
But you see that 3 of the pods are down. Only 1 pod works anymore, and you're thinking, "This motherfucker wanted us
son of a bitch
to all die so he could go in the cryopod by himself and have a chance of getting saved." Daisuke's like, "I don't know, man."
Yeah, it doesn't check out. Daisuke's having a hard time accepting that like he didn't unbury that from the foam, you know what I mean? Like Swansea hasn't been in there the whole time working on it, Daisuke's
he was like, he could have been clearing this out for us.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been hard at work at this the whole time. Like Daisuke doesn't want to accept, because there's also things to imply, even though like Swansea calls him like dumb and stuff, you can find the papers and stuff.
He's like, you knucklehead.
Yeah, but he is like actually trying to teach the kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you can
he's
find
doing the best
stuff.
he can.
And he is like, when he gets hurt, he is like, I'm telling you not to go in there because you're going to get hurt. You know what I mean? Like something bad's going to happen if you go in there. And he kind of tries to be like, well, yeah, but like you said you couldn't, so maybe I can. And Swansea's like, don't, just fucking don't. So he does care about him.
Right. And so that first scene where Daisuke was like all covered in the foam and everything is because he went into that vent. That's the vent that goes from utility to medical, and something happened and he was all covered in the foam. Like
Triggered the foam somehow. Yeah.
So Swansea was like saying like, don't go in there, super dangerous. And Jimmy's like, no, Swansea will be proud of you if you go in there. Just go ahead.
Oh, he gets real manipulative because I think he says the whole crew's counting on you. Like, you can basically you can save all of us if you just do this.
Daisuke's immediately injured.
Oh yeah, it's like within moments of his going in there, you hear like, and then kung, kung, kung.
One day before the crash, you are tasked with finding the gun. You find Anya curled up and stressed out. She says that as a nurse, she wasn't given her own psych evaluation.
I think Curly says that.
Oh.
I think Curly goes, I never even thought about it, but you weren't even given, as a nurse, you weren't given your own psych eval. You should have come and talked to me. You know you can.
She said that she hid the gun. She tells Curly that she's pregnant. Anya reveals that she hid the gun so Jimmy wouldn't get it because she knows that Curly would have never let her use it to protect herself. Curly says he can fix the situation. In my notes I have Curly is a fucking airhead. He says, we can fix this. He goes, I can talk to Curly. We can fix this. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Like, what are you going to go talk to Jimmy
about? But
that,
again, he's not picking up on the fact that she was assaulted.
I think this part is way more open to interpretation than whether or not she was assaulted. Because in the chronological video I watched where the Risley or whatever, she breaks it down into the chronological order that everything happens. She's seems to be very convinced that Curly knew about this and hasn't done anything about this. I don't know why she thinks that. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't find anything to really imply that.
Well, there's one point where it does seem to click, but I don't know if it clicks.
I don't know if it clicks for him because he's still willing to go and be like...
He gets... The thing that clicks is that Jimmy's the father.
Yes. Uh-huh. Because he goes, well, who could have... And I think the part where she implies it from is Curly goes, she says, I'm pregnant. And Curly goes, well, who could have... And then she goes, you know.
Yeah. Yes. I think she says, I told you.
I told you. And so that implies... I don't know... So I guess it's like, is that her directly saying, I told you he raped me?
Right.
And you've done nothing. You know what I mean? Is
it's
that what
still
she's saying?
Kind of open. It's the kind of thing where it's like, it is heavy because like in my own experience, even in life, people don't like to be entirely upfront about these things. They will kind of like say like, can't you put it together? You know, like you gotta, do I have to hit you over the head with it? It's like, maybe you do, honestly, for some people to get it. And it's like, a lot of people don't want to fathom how, I say a lot of people, I mean, myself included, it can be difficult to fathom, like, just those sorts of actions being, you know, from someone you know.
It also seems to imply that they've known each other for a while, Curly and Jimmy, that is.
Yes.
And might even
they
be
were
like friends
on
to a
Earth.
degree.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and
at least acquaintances
and
in
also,
some way.
what it could be is that she could have let Curly know that Jimmy had been like aggressively coming onto her or something, you know what I mean, or making moves, you know what I mean. Not that maybe this was the assault, was when she got pregnant, and that's it. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's been a history of assaults.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's very unclear.
We don't know. And that's what the person who did the chronological video was like, it's a history of assaults. That's what, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but there's not as much to imply that as there is
I would
to,
just
you know
say
what I mean?
that's a potential.
For sure, it could be.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just don't feel confident saying that's definitely it.
Yeah, I just didn't see as much to say that. You know what I mean?
And also, even the fact that even though
Either way,
it is like
yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like the game doesn't, even though it like really allows a player to be guided maybe toward one conclusion, if they choose to look at it that way, the gravity of it is so intense, and even if you choose to like not think about it that way, everything is still super, super, super intense.
Yeah.
And the whole game is kind of about like, as an individual, when you see something happening, even if you don't have all the facts and it's not being spelled out for you, do you kind of like, if there's smoke, there's fire, you know, do you kind of go, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right, I should intervene. Maybe I don't need someone to go over the line before I say something or look at something. And I think a big theme of the game is, you know, that, like, people failing to do that. over and over and over. And I think that it's intended for us as viewers and players to kind of like be put into that situation by the story where it's like, it doesn't tell you that she was raped. It doesn't tell you how many times it happened. It doesn't tell you, what you see, like Jimmy and Anya interact, and she tries to be cordial with him when she can. You don't really know exactly what it is, but can you?
There's something.
There's something going on, and what
the
do
reality
you do about
that?
that?
But because like us looking back on it, writing's on the wall. You know what I mean? From getting these like sporadic things, but like you would have to imagine Curly. It would have been very hard for him to not have assumed something, not have known something was going on. You know what I mean? And then it's also like another big theme of this, obviously, like we talked about, is the illusion of choice. So then it brings you to the idea of it makes you wrestle with the question of like, could he have done anything? Had he done anything, would the end result be different? You know what I mean? Say he does intervene. Say Curly does intervene and is like, okay, this is done.
At one point,
Jimmy,
Anya does say, like, I'd like you off the ship.
Well, that's what she says.
Or I'd like Jimmy off the ship.
That's
Curly.
what it's the, I think it's the next scene. Mm-hmm. The next scene where you see the two of them where she's like, I want him off the ship. After she tells Jimmy that she's pregnant. You know what I mean? That's when she's like, I want him off the ship. And the reality is that, like, I think had Curly come to Jimmy with that earlier, like, you got to get off the ship. This isn't acceptable what you've done. We might still be in the same spot anyway. You know what I mean?
Why? Because...
Well, I mean, we're going to learn in a minute who actually crashed the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the idea is, like, say the first time Anya comes and talks to Curly and is like, either Jimmy raped me or Jimmy's making me uncomfortable. And Curly's like, got it. This is over. Goes and tells Jimmy.
It wouldn't be soon enough to circumvent.
Jimmy might react to being told that he's going to be taken off the ship the same way. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I think.
I think so too.
You know what I mean?
To me, that's also part of like the illusion of choice thing where it's kind of like...
But also the fear of not knowing too. You
right.
know what I mean?
That's another big part too.
Of like, okay, well, there's the illusion of choice, but it's like, regardless of which choice I make, I don't actually know what's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And especially in situations as extreme as this, So that's where I'm at with the whole thing. I think that there's a lot of... Those are just the biggest themes, I think, in this, where it's like... Because then they try to... By the end, characters are trying to place blame. And I think you as a character a little bit, too, are trying to kind of be like, well, who is at fault for this?
Right.
And then it's kind of... You kind of have to go... I mean, really, ultimately, one person is at fault for this.
One person is pretty much definitely at fault in almost every scenario in the game.
But then it starts to ask, like, well... Could this have been prevented?
Right, and complacency when you see things and just like how much information do you need before you react or respond to what is clearly a bad situation that you should be getting out of.
Yeah.
Or should be getting the people around you out of, you know?
Yes.
So Curly leaves Anya to go confront Jimmy. Then we flash 6 hours before judgment, 6 hours until judgment. Daisuke is on the ground, clearly dying from when he had those wounds earlier. After being
you've already dumped this shit on him just to put sugar in the wound.
Jimmy repeats the line that Curly just said, "We can fix this." Swansea basically does a big mercy kill on Daisuke.
And this
hits him with the axe.
But this is another moment where he starts to suggest he's going to do it, and Jimmy's like, you can't. Don't do this.
I'm going to fix this.
Stop now. We can fix this. And then, like, the whole time that Swansea's, like, talking to him and holding the axe in the air and getting ready, Jimmy does nothing to stop it.
Right.
And then when he does, he's like, I could have fixed it. Why would you do
monster.
That? Uh-huh.
Now you're being tasked with getting the gun. So you go to medical. You see that Anya OD'd. She killed herself right next to... Curly's corpse, or Curly's not corpse, but vessel. We see the gun was hidden beneath Curly's bed, and that Anya never had any intention of hurting Curly. That was a totally like Jimmy just being selfish, not realizing that what Anya was doing.
And we skipped over. Swansea doesn't seem to give a shit about the cryopod.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Swansea's like, there's
I'm
nothing.
sorry, I did fix that. No, I say that. Yeah. When Jimmy's like, "Oh, we could have fixed this, you fucking idiot!" Like, and I know what you did. You're trying to keep the cryopod for yourself.
And Swansea's like, there's nothing for me outside or fucking right here. You know what I mean? Like, when I die here, I die here. And that's that.
And that's where Swansea, I think, also reveals, like, I know what you did. Like, I know about you. And
Because what is it? Jimmy says, I can't imagine the types of things you're putting in, like, you might have been telling Anya. And he's like, you'd be surprised it was the things she was telling me.
Yeah.
You know
yes,
what I mean?
exactly. Which it's like, again, I really think Swansea is like a very classic, like, boomer guy where it's like, so many times you hear, like, what, your buddy was like a rapist? And you're like, yeah, but like, I didn't agree with that, and I talked to him about it, and I don't know, like, what I'm supposed to... It's like, I've dealt with that in my own life. Like, I've had guys, like, in my social circle who, like, I find out things about, and I go, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. And then I hear another thing. And I hear another thing. And I go, I understand if you hear an allegation and you're just like, wow, I don't know how to respond to that entirely. Like, effectively. Like, yes, you can think it's horrible, you can whatever, but like,
I need more information.
But like, what do you do? Like, like, effectively, like, what does that mean? You got it, and it's like, it's disarming, it's disorienting.
Yes.
But when you hear another story and another story and another story, you go, hey, what do we fucking... And then it's really like, what do you fucking do? You can't bring them to justice.
No.
There's no sense. There's no, like, what do you do? All you can do is try to protect the people around you.
Yes.
And, ostracize or protect. And but, like, really, in terms of retaliation,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
there's no reliable form of retaliation against those crimes in a lot of places. And it's very...
However, in this situation, Swansea could have just gone over and hit him with the axe.
Yes.
Like, the moment Anya told him...
Which looked like he was thinking about doing.
Yeah, if Swansea wanted to... I mean, he just killed Daisuke, you know what I mean? It was a mercy killing, admittedly. But, like, if Swansea was really, you know what I mean, this man... Which he is aware that he's not the man. He plays himself up to be or thinks he is, you know what I mean? By the end of things. But, like, if he was this man that he presents himself to be, then he would have just killed him right there. You know what I mean? Effectively. Yeah. Which is, like, the same, like you said, we know so many boomers
who are like, it's like, even if they had an opportunity to directly intervene, they're like, it's not my place.
Yeah.
Or something. And it's like, why? Why is it not your place? Like, if you're, like, but again, it's just how some people are. What are you going to fucking do?
Yeah, well, ultimately,
you got to navigate it one way or another. I don't know. It's very difficult. It's just like, it's, and the game really hammers you with that stuff, like, over and over and over. I think the easiest thing is just to try to act like those people don't exist. I think that's what a lot of people do. Or, straw man argument and be like, oh, I hate that type of person. It's like, okay, but like, sure. And then what?
Yeah.
Like, you can shit talk them, you can downplay them.
Yeah, it's like, ultimately that's like ultimately what I do is I stop acting like I know, like, not that I stop acting like no, but like I just pretend they're not around. And then if somebody goes, hey, do you know that person? I go, oh yeah, that guy's a fucking creep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, oh yeah, I heard that guy, you know what I mean, does this shit. I'm not, you know.
But on a real level, it's like,
there's not much
you can do.
Yeah.
What more can you do?
Yeah.
It's a very difficult question to answer.
Like, say we learn say somebody tells us that, like, one of our friends raped somebody. I could go to the police and tell them that. Nothing will happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no. And
I can't, like...
Yes, obviously, an answer would be, oh, well, go through the systems and improve... okay.
I can't... Yeah, that would mean nothing.
We have no faith in authority.
Yeah. And, like, I wouldn't be... It would have to be the victim who went and did that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You can't press charges for someone else.
And I'm also not going to be like, hey, you got to go turn them into the cops. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's for them to decide.
No, and that's another very difficult, like, layer of this is, like, some people want to aggressively seek justice, while others want to just put something behind themselves.
Yeah.
And you can't...
Both are valid, and you can't tell people what is and isn't okay.
Yeah, people have got to do their own thing. It's all very, very rough. But there's so many situations in this scenario in the game where it's like, there are things people could have done.
Yes.
Like, for us as citizens, it's like, we're often not in a scenario where we have any authority or any weight or any like anything to barter in this interaction to make things go a certain way. In almost all these situations, we're mostly powerless.
Yes.
Effectively against some,
massive
ne'er-do-well,
entity.
but Curly seems like he had the authority in some way to remove him from the ship. And that would have also been beneficial to everyone else because they were low on supplies.
Yes.
You know, from having the extra person.
And it didn't seem like he really needed a co-pilot. You know what I mean?
No, it kind of seemed like he was just kind of like trying to help Jimmy out by even keeping him around. And that's, you know, the talking about like the sort of like, there's different levels where it's like there's a failure of us as citizens in some level, but we also have limitations in a societal structure, you know, because of law or because of whatever.
Yeah, but in this in this microcosm of like, this is a ship with 5 people, you know what I mean? And like, this is the authority. You're the authority.
He has the authority.
Yeah, he is the authority here. You know what I mean? Like, to a degree, obviously, there's like the larger Pony Express. You know what I mean?
Right. But you're seeing it from both sides where it's like, you know, the other shipmates don't have authority and he does. And you're seeing that like sort of like that in I guess in this particular conflict, like how different people can and can't or will or won't react to something. It's like, it's very powerful to see it from so many different sides. And just,
well, and then it's also
you know,
kind of, it's like, it's a fuck too that it's like, because of his lack of willingness to like use that authority in any meaningful way, the one person who should not have any authority seems to take all the authority immediately afterwards. Once there's that vacuum, the person who deserves it the least of all, you know what I mean, will like, step into that role.
Curly's kind of like lack of ambition when it comes to like being decisive about stuff. It's kind of like, okay, well, how about you get all of your agency taken away now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, you don't like making decisions? You can't fucking do anything for yourself anymore.
So Anya is dead. We see that the gun was hidden beneath Curly's bed. You have to go get the key, which you could have gotten the key code earlier. I think it was always written down in the locker.
It was always written down in the locker, and so the first playthrough I remembered it,
Yeah.
and I just entered it and you get an achievement.
Cool.
Second playthrough, I couldn't remember it. I got it wrong. I had the right numbers in the wrong order. You know what I mean? But either way.
So you grab the gun out of the case. It's very Resident Evil-y looking, and Curly like starts like laughing.
Or crying. You can't tell.
It's hard to tell. It sounds like
seems
laughter,
like a
but
laugh.
Yeah.
But it could be sobbing because Anya. So Anya said, "I know you'd never let me have the gun to protect me, but I figure at least I can keep him from getting it." Which is Jimmy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now Jimmy's the one getting the gun.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anya's dead. Curly's lying in this bed powerless. Anya's dead on the ground next to him.
Right. He's seen the cosmic joke.
Uh-huh. Also, though, this is another thing I'd like to point out, that like this is the moment where it really cemented to me that Anya never actually registered for Jimmy as like another person. Because it's like, Daisuke dies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Freaking out. Have to save him. We have to fix this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then devastated afterwards. Later on, we'll see him struggle with Swansea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
Curly. He goes to great lengths for Curly.
But the Swansea thing, even the Swansea has a big scene for his death. You know what I mean? Where it's like, they have this big heart to heart. Anya's locked behind a door. He accuses her of doing something else. Refuses to acknowledge that she's dead after when it comes in the scene where he won't look at any of it.
Can't even look at her.
And then again, this time, just walks right past her. You can't even interact with her body or say anything, or say or do anything. You know what I mean? She's just there. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. It could be that he doesn't want to acknowledge her because then he'd have to acknowledge the things he's done. Or it could be that he's never, you know what I mean, acknowledged her as another human being.
Yeah, I think it's probably a healthy mix of both of those things, if I were to guess. Suddenly, Swansea rushes Jimmy with the axe. And then we cut 0 days before the crash. Anya tells Curly that she doesn't want Jimmy on the ship anymore. Curly is dismissive. He finds Jimmy in the hallway. They have a quick discussion. Jimmy says that everything could be Curly's fault, or the whole thing could be seen as a tragedy instead, despite the efforts, the best efforts of the captain. You know, talking about, this is after everyone got the news they're all going to get fired, and he's like, man, it must be hard, you know, being the captain. Like, this is all going to be, you're responsible for everybody's downfall here. Or we could take things in a different direction.
And also, this is after he's found out that Anya's pregnant.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
he's starting to come to terms with, like, oh, why did Anya say all that stuff about the gun and Jimmy and the pregnancy? And, like, oh, he's putting it together.
And then, Jimmy knows that Anya's pregnant, too, at this point.
Yeah. And so Curly is kind of just, like, being very passive here. And Jimmy goes, I'll take care of it. And Jimmy goes in,
To the
He
cockpit.
crashes the ship. He's the one. He pinned it on Curly this whole time. So you're playing this game for like 90 minutes thinking one thing, and you learn this, and this is the big reveal.
What a twist.
Then
And it got me too.
yeah. Oh, it
I
got
was
me,
genuinely
got me
like,
for sure.
I mean, by right here, I was starting to question things a little bit. Because at this point, you're just kind of questioning your reality as a whole. Do you know what I mean? And the reality that you've been seeing in this, where you start to go,
Come on.
because like there's scenes where you're Jimmy and you have the visual hallucinations and stuff like that. But then there's scenes where you're Curly and you have those same hallucinations. And so I started to be like, okay, well, if both of them are crazy, either one of them could have done this, and who knows? And then this scene was finally like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean?
You see Jimmy on the ground, his head in his hands. You realize Jimmy crashed the ship. And now it's like Jimmy exited the cockpit and he's like this, which kind of implies that like that whole intro scene where you're like going through the halls all crazy, that might just be in Jimmy's head while
As
he's
he's
just
sitting there like reeling.
you know, because he's having an episode. 1 hour before judgment, Jimmy is now carrying Curly in front of him. The corpses of the crew are sat at the dining table in their party hats. Curly is laid on the table, and the corpses speak, and they begin celebrating Jimmy as the captain. You get the objective: take the knife. You slice off Curly's leg. It looks just like when you were slicing the cake. Jimmy
mechanic.
says he won't give up on Curly, and then he forgives him. He says, "Let's eat. Let's survive."
And then you see a little slice of leg on everybody's plate sitting around. Even though everybody else is dead, you didn't need to cut off such a big hunk of leg. You're wasting food.
All throughout the game, you'll see these little messages come up. Take responsibility. Stop the violence.
Fight the power.
You go to medical. You enter the vent. The vent that's been the Daisuke was supposed to go through. It's a vent on the ground. It's been like covered up most of the game. You couldn't get to it, but now it's open, and there's some keys like dangling above it, like you know,
They
mysteriously.
said, could you read the note? The note's very hard to read on it.
I don't remember.
I had to like zoom in and get it the right angle because it's so pixelated. But it says, where the fuck did I leave my keys?
Yes, I remember that. Yes. You go into the vent. You see Daisuke, and as you approach him, he disappears. You see a note that says, "No turning back now." So for this part, you have to walk backwards through these vents.
Yeah, it took me a few times to figure that out.
Me too. You go through a series of surreal and abstract environments full of imagery from the game. And most of the imagery from the game is an axe, Polly, the mascot.
And then you also, there's one point if you try to backtrack in the vents, the whole wall has become the sign that used to be on the vent to medical that was just like, don't enter, idiots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From Swansea.
Things become more chaotic and more claustrophobic the further you go in. You see Swansea tied up in a chair, and you go to shoot him, and you're teleported to a graveyard. This is another boss fight.
First time I didn't shoot him. First time I pulled out the gun and I just shot somewhere else.
Yeah.
Second time I did shoot him. Either way, you got to fight him in the graveyard.
Damn.
I thought maybe if I shoot him in the head, I don't have to fight him.
Right.
I still have to fight him.
Well, so this is like it's kind of like a first-person view of like a Bomberman stage.
Yeah. Yes.
With, like, columns.
That is a good way to describe it. Yeah.
And you're kind of just like going around, and you hear him, and he rushes up behind you, and you need to turn real quick and shoot him in the head. You got to dome him 3 times. But the gun
shoot him
mechanics
anywhere,
are.
I think.
It has to be the head.
Are you
For
sure?
it to count.
Okay.
That's what I've read that a few times over. I could be wrong.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's fair. Because one time I shot him in the back twice as he was running away from me. And then I had to shoot him a few more times.
Yeah, I believe it's 3 headshots to end the sequence. And it's hard. It's just aiming's hard.
Oh, yeah, and he killed me a bunch.
Yeah.
And it's just because you can't turn around that quickly. And it's like by the time it alerts you, he's coming up behind you. He's very close usually.
Then we see Swansea in silhouette, and there's like archival, stock footage behind him. And this is very Killer 7 to me. A lot of this scene, and when again, like it goes like a stark white background in the silhouettes, and just felt like the menu select screens from Killer 7, and I really liked it. I thought this was very cool looking.
This was a very impactful scene.
Yeah, Swansea gives like a very emotional monologue, and he talks about how basically like he was a drunk and he was like ready to die, and then kind of like he's like, no, I want to do better for myself, my family, and he gives this whole long thing. He's like, but you know what? The moments where I was lowest were my best days in my life, and I spent so long just trying to like get away from that, and like just talked about this whole like the sort of duality of like he's
like, I set these goals
are
for
you
myself.
just running from a problem?
Children, family, home, and no matter what, like every time I crossed the fucking line, it just never felt that great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, I'd rather just be fucking passed out on the floor in a piss and vomit. You know what I mean? Like, hurting.
He also laments not being able to save Daisuke.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy says that he will fix everything. Take responsibility.
Well, I also love that he says, don't worry. I'll fix everything. We'll all get out of this. And then he holds a gun up to his head and shoots him in the head.
I don't think he shoots him yet, but yeah.
No, he might not shoot him yet. But, like, he's going to shoot him. You know what I mean?
Totally. Maybe he did, maybe he did. I can't remember exactly when it
I
happens.
remember he pulls the gun up.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
remember whether or not he pulls the trigger, but...
We see Swansea's dead body in a chair. We navigate another surreal version of the ship, going through a giant version of Curly's body. Mm-hmm. We now have to do a valve/tube puzzle where we force feed Curly his own leg. Mm-hmm. This is a classic adventure game puzzle.
Yes.
You have to set the different valves so the food can
The only
travel
thing that
through
was,
the
it
body.
was just confusing because, like, the first few times I do it, I couldn't tell. Sometimes it'll, like,
Oh, yeah,
go
it's
and
super
start
confusing.
over on the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's weird. But I figured it out.
I figured it
Also,
out, but it was clunky. It was very awkward.
Fun thing I heard someone else imply that I didn't even think about, that just goes to show you how, like, selfish Jimmy is. Obviously, Curly's already suffering a great deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jimmy could cut off a piece of himself to feed Curly.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Jimmy could cut off a piece of himself to eat, but instead he's cutting off a piece of Curly so that he can feed it to Curly. You know what I mean? And so that he can eat it. And it's like, okay, or you could have made any sacrifice this entire fucking game. You know what I mean? You could have made a single sacrifice this entire time. But, like, there's not a single sacrifice Jimmy makes in this game.
Well,
there's maybe one.
Debatable if it's even one.
It's more just like, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore.
You then, like, go to a scene where Jimmy and Curly are in space and Curly's on fire and they have, like, this long conversation. And Jimmy swears that what happened was an accident and that both of them can still be heroes. He's like, we were trapped, you know? Like, but we'll work it out. And Curly, this is kind of like, to me, this is like Jimmy being like, oh, Curly, we're getting through this. This is all right. We're still good, man.
Yeah.
And, like, his fake version of Curly in his head is like, yeah, it's okay.
We'll get this.
You know?
We're fine.
Take responsibility flashes again. A large, fleshy mass appears in front of us, and we have to use an ultrasound machine to find a horse fetus inside.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 of them,
There's
and you
3
have to
of them, I
like
believe,
you have to like melt them effectively with your ultrasound.
The mass starts
Wavelengths.
chasing us. Mm-hmm. It's like a human centipede, except it's a poly centipede.
Polycenipede,
Yeah.
Hey, good for them.
Made from the mascot statues. And like when you go up to it, like it like moves away like a really gross bug.
Yeah.
But eventually you do pass through a door.
It can catch you too. You have to
can
kind of
catch you,
run from it. And this one's
It's weird.
yeah, because there was more than once it did the thing in my second playthrough. It did the thing where it comes around the corner and it looks you right in the eye, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm dead," but I just ran away anyways. And you can just run away and you're fine. And I was like, "Oh, cool," because every other time in my first playthrough I'd freeze and it would kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be just like, "Oh, it got me."
For me, this and the first kind of like stealth boss section. Just the most confusing parts of the games in terms of mechanics. Like, I'm not sure what to do, but I figured it out. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just like I was just like, huh?
Yeah,
Because
well-
like so much of the game, I'm going, cool. I'm in. I'm going.
If this were a much longer game, then that would have been more annoying to me. But since it's only like a 2 or 3 hour game,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I had to try harder at this part. You know what I mean?
Right.
And since the rest of it, there's no challenge. You know what I mean? I didn't really mind that there was a little bit of, and it just didn't really bug me.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay, I figured it out. Whatever.
It was one little like, huh, and that was about it. So
Yeah.
we eventually go to a door. Blah blah blah. You go through a hallway full of the crew ID cards, and this, speaking to your earlier point, you can't see Anya's card. You see all the other crew cards except for Anya's, which just, again further implies that
Did you can find everybody's ID card, I guess, throughout the
I
game.
didn't find all 4 of them.
I found Anya's
Or 5.
and Daisuke's.
I
That's
found
it.
a few.
Those are the only 2 I found. It was annoying. I really wanted to
We'll
find
have to
the
check
rest.
the Achievement Hunters channel or something. And
Yeah. I kept on my second playthrough, every single level I'd be like, all right, I'm exploring everything. You know what I mean? And then
to my memory, they're in a weird spot.
the only level that I didn't explore everything on was the first like stealth one, where I was like, I'm just gonna keep going through here. I'm not gonna check the nooks and crannies. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Eventually, we get to a mountain of mouthwash bottles and Polly's on top of them all. He says that Pony Express is dead, and so is Jimmy. Or Jimmy says that to Polly. Jimmy says that Curly is the better man, that he's going to make it right. Jimmy even begins to quote Anya's words about how, people aren't defined by their worst moments. But Polly's kind of like interrupting.
Yeah.
Throughout this, we just see repeatedly that Jimmy will only apologize to Curly for some reason. Like, that's the only person he's like, Curly, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And he can't really, like, reconcile his feelings with anyone else. And it does seem through various bits and bobs that Polly represents the unborn child.
Fair.
Like, you can see, when we first see the Polly statue, there's the baby crying.
Yep.
The horse fetus thing.
Right.
And then he goes, oh, what should I call you? Old man? Father, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like kind of telling how he couldn't even see Anya. And then when he sees the child, it's like
it's the mascot he hates.
Yeah, it's the and it's like also the mascot that he expressed like sexual attraction to, which is also like another level of like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Like, he's twisted. He's, like, actually super fucked up. I don't know if you know, like, the Joker.
He's, like, really dark and twisted, actually.
He's basically like the Joker.
But basically, yeah. But, no, it's very... This scene is very poignant, especially when he, like... I forget what he says before Polly interrupts him and is like, well, if that's how you feel about this, why do you still care about him so much? Like, why are you still so worried about Curly? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's this weird thing where, like, it's weird because he effectively, in one way or another, killed everybody on the ship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jimmy did.
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly killed everybody on the ship, except for Curly. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think there's part of him that was like, I didn't think he expected that to happen to Curly, where he was going to suffer like that. And I think something in him the whole time is like upset that happened. I think he would have rather Curly just died. You know what I mean?
I mean, that was his intention.
Yes. I think he would have much rather Curly just died, so that way Curly can take all the blame. And now Curly is this weird like chink in the chain, or what is it? You know what I mean? Like something clogging up the gears. And like, while he's mad at him for that, because you can see that he's mad at him several times throughout it and like trying to blame him for all this stuff.
Yeah. He takes out a lot of aggression on him.
At the same time, it's like he does feel some sort of remorse for putting him in this state, I think.
Then he also, at one point, Curly is on the table and Jimmy says something along the lines of like, wow, I didn't realize how hard it'd be like being the captain. Like, like I really feel for you now that I understand like what you've been through. Like, because now I've gone through it too. And
the whole time Curly's just...
And it's also kind of like, to me, and maybe this is just like my sort of like anti-authoritarian kind of like inclinations coming out, but to me it also just says something about how like Curly, as the captain, like Jimmy respects that position, and Jimmy just seems to be like so like there's just a certain type of person who doesn't really have respect for the system. It's not like they're like, oh, I love authority. I love the corporate structure. They're more just like, if I'm going to be fucked, I want to be like the top rat, basically. Well, it's more,
there's like that. And then like, I think there's some people too who look at it like, well, if I get in with these people up top, I'll get something out of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not even that, like, they care about it or what it is, or like fucking, but they're just like, they look at people as something.
Climber mentality. Like, that's the ladder imagery and everything. It's using, just like, some people really view it that way, and they view it as a very violent thing. Like, if I'm on the ladder, that means there's no room for you on the ladder.
I'll tear you down off the ladder,
And
with no remorse.
And really, I do think that's like a very dumbass way to look at things, because it's just like it takes like these like corporate entities and turns them into gods, and like we want to ascend into these higher beings and stuff, and it's just like so insane to me. And the game, I think, does touch on a sort of like anti-capitalist kind of thing, because like they always talk about how like the companies like just
the Pony Express, the literal Pony Express, and then like the Dutch East India Company I was talking about earlier, and then like where we're headed with all this stuff that's maybe going to happen and stuff. It's just like, it's unchecked capitalism.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, this is capitalism in its purest form is what you're seeing. You know what I mean?
And you don't need to necessarily assign that to it. Like, that's maybe not even the intention. It's just kind of like, well, those are the kind of stories that do arise when capitalism goes unchecked. And, it's not even, maybe it's not necessarily a critique of those things inherently, but also it's a pretty good case. if you want to
Yeah.
if you want to bring it there.
But it's like, and it just goes to, and I think the reason that they put it in this one, the reason that they have kind of some of like it's not even like directly anti-capitalist kind of sentiment in it, but like things that are like, you're getting that out of it. You know what I mean? With all the little Pauly things of like, crew will be collectively punished. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Like, pay will be docked.
totally. It just seems like Jimmy's like a real like corporate suck ass in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know?
And but it also goes to, I think it's just another thing to kind of like really imply the powerlessness of these people. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
That's like the one thing he can cling on to.
yes, is that maybe he can have authority in this scenario, you know, and he gets it, I guess.
He
Technically.
does get it. Mm-hmm. He goes to great lengths for it. 0 hours before judgment, we're back at the dining room table. We pick up Curly and are given one final objective: go home. Jimmy places Curly in the cryopod. He says, "We fixed it. I fixed it." And then he fucking domes himself.
and freezes Curly.
Yeah. And so Curly has to basically, now that he's completed the cycle, it is the next time you see him is the opening of Fallout 4.
Yes, and he's screaming as his baby's torn from his wife's hands, and then she's shot, you know.
Yes.
And then he has to go find Kellogg and find the Institute.
Yes, the whole thing.
And then it turns out that Anya had the baby, and his baby's now running this thing called the Institute, and he's older than he is. It's crazy.
Really a lot
And
of
then
fun.
Hitler's there in a blimp.
Yes.
It's wild stuff.
It's really, truly insane. And you can do like a mod to make all the women have enormous breasts.
Oh, the one woman in the game? to give the rape victim huge tits.
I meant in Fallout 4.
Okay, sorry, my man. Misunderstood.
Although, okay, so here's another thing. Not talking about sexualizing Anya necessarily, but also yes, there is like a intense fandom surrounding this game, and people do have like they're like shipping the characters and like doing like erotic fan art and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's just
man,
like, whoa, man,
That
like,
happens with everything.
I know, but it's just like I just
Nothing's
go like
sacred.
I go, all right, I guess that's all I can go is.
Well, you got to remember
right.
with the like, for sure, there's a contingency of that. There are people that are adults. I'm like, but a lot of time, what I gotta just say to myself is like, these are 13-year-olds. Half of this is horny 13-year-olds.
All right,
You know what I mean?
all right.
And like, I knew a handful of people like that when I was that age.
I did too.
They're not like that anymore. You know what I mean? So, a couple of them are
Listen.
still like that, but most of them aren't. So it's like, you know,
I get it. I'm a horny guy. I'm basically, you know, busting, gooing, goo goo goo. You know. Yeah, I don't. You know, hilarious ending. In a way, it's a truly like, you know, a tragedy, but there's like a comedy to it as well.
of like this, that everyone's dead.
And even the
You
fact
fucked
that
up,
like
you fucked up so hard. And I love also, completely off topic, Curly reveal. Curly looks like fucking Captain Falcon, dude. Curly looks cool as hell. Like when there's like a real quick moment where they cut and it's like you can see Jimmy and Curly talking to each other. And Curly was like Captain Falcon without the mask.
Totally. Yeah, I don't know. I was really struck by how it all came together, and then, like, when it ended, I was like,
Well, because it's kind of like, it's also like, how else is it going to end? To a degree, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I love that it was like such an absurd kind of ending. It's so funny because it's like when you see the scene where maybe arguably he's sobbing, but it seems to me like he's laughing. It seems like Curly gets the humor in.
Oh yeah,
you know,
in all of this, like and even like there's something to be said about him being the one who survives the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even though like obviously it's all Jimmy's fault, but it's implied several times that like Curly is ultimately responsible for everybody. Even Curly says he's responsible for everybody and what happens on the ship, but then doesn't take any actual responsibility. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And ultimately, he was the only one that was going to come out of the company dissolving in a positive, you know what I mean? Positively. Right. Also, he's the only one who made it in any scenario.
Yeah.
He was always going to be the one who made it.
It's a very interesting story too, because just talking about, a story that talks about sexual assault in such a candid and real way, even the way it is like kind of like left a little bit unsaid, that really is how it is in real life. And it's a very difficult thing to navigate in reality. And I don't think it's the kind of thing that media touches enough for people to have like frank conversations about how overwhelming and confusing and destructive like those things can be, because like we for so long, like so much of the culture was just like, we don't talk about that, and they just try to sweep it under the rug. And it's like, okay, well now, obviously coming years off of like a big sort of like Hollywood purge and all the Me Too stuff, and people becoming more,
It started being talked about a lot more.
More talked about, but it doesn't mean still that we as individuals have the actual skills needed to navigate those situations skillfully.
And the
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, and the way it's being talked about also isn't in a way that's like, it's never talked about in a way of like, well, how do we deal with this? You know what I mean? Like, how do we deal with like the reality of it?
We're not there yet, really. I think a lot of it is just like, we just need to, for the culture, it's like, admit there's a problem, acknowledge a problem, give people who've been effective space to speak. And I don't think that, especially the mainstream sort of gatekeepers of the culture, want to then do the next step of, and how do we address this going forward? Because a lot of them are complicit. I don't think they want to dismantle the system. I think they want to.
A lot of people in power are, in fact, you know what I mean.
I think a lot of the
participating in
the Me Too stuff on a more, in the same way where it's like super like homophobic companies will still put out like flags on Pride Month. It's like a lot of people I think got down with all that sort of Me Too stuff and like empowering believing victims, and it's like, they're not going to put that into practice. It is, totally.
It was just a way to avoid not saying it.
And I'm not saying that the entire movement or the entire thing. It's like, yes, obviously, it's a huge cultural impact. I'm just saying that like some people were very disingenuous. In how they interact with that, and I think a lot of those people are the big gatekeepers in Hollywood. Like it's still going on in Hollywood. You can hire as many minorities and women and whatever as you want, and try to look like you're being progressive, but you can see a lot of these places are still just as bigoted, and they're just trying to look like, better.
We've talked about it a lot on the channel, but like forced diversity is like painful to see. You know what I mean? Where it's like, there's real diversity. You know what I mean? There's genuine diversity, and there's like, that happens organically, and that is there. You know what I mean? And you can tell the difference between the two. You
can tell when someone's trying to like check a box,
exactly.
Rather than like just following their heart. Just treating people
rather than just being genuine.
As people,
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's just like, it's an interesting topic for a game that even a lot of the discussion I've seen on it, like I said earlier, like they kind of shied away from talking about the assault part of it. And they're like, he may have like forced himself on her. It's like, I don't know. To me, it's like, it's pretty crazy. Like another anecdote. Sorry.
If it did happen, then it seems to be like a major theme of the entire game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, kind of, how do you avoid it?
Right. But
it seems to be like a catalyst for a lot of what happens.
It's not a common thing to talk about in media. And one thing I remember watching like a documentary about the MPAA that like does the movie ratings, and it's like an anonymous board, and like it's all fucking weird. But they would like someone had statistics where it's like, if there's a scene where like a woman like had an orgasm, that would get blocked, but a woman being like violently raped could be shown no problem. And there's something about the way that I think that a lot of mainstream Western culture over the last few decades, and there is a bit of a turn right now, and that's, some of that's genuine, some of it's not. It's difficult to navigate. I'm not trying to act like things are the same way they have been for the past 50 years entirely. Like, there is ebbs and flows.
Yeah, for sure.
But for much of my life as an adult, and many other people I think around me, like rape in media was presented as a very like, it's not that different from like an action scene. It's just like, it's a thing that happens, but they don't like, it's not talked about.
Yeah. It was presented as a fact of life.
Yes, that's.
But then it wasn't like the same way that like you'll hear like slurs in a movie, and some people will be like, "How could they have them say that?" I'm like, "Well, that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's real. There are people like that. They're all bigoted, racist people, and they say shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's just being realistic. But like we're more willing to have a bit more of an actual discourse on that. You know what I mean? Even then, not like the way we really need to. But like, it's like, I don't know. It's easier. It's easier for people to accept that rape happens. Not easier for people to like be like, well, what do we do about it?
Yeah, like when these people are in our communities or in our little ship where there's only 5 of us, like, how do we respond to that individual? I don't think a lot of people know what to do, and I think this game is a very realistic, portrayal of how that goes. And just from my own life experiences and people close to me, is kind of how it fucking goes, and it's very, and I think it's just fucking cool to put out a well-regarded story that I think, it still could do a little bit more in some ways if it wanted to tell people how to think. But I think what it does is kind of like puts a mirror up to you, and you go like,
I think it would,
like, what am I, how do I feel about that?
I think it would lose a lot of what makes it so good if it did try to tell you how to, if it did try to give you like this is how you're supposed to feel about it.
Yeah.
I think it would lose a lot of its value.
So,
listener question.
Yeah, viewer comments and questions. So, Cookies and Cream at Cookies27Cream over on X or Twitter if you're nasty. Overall thoughts on Curly? I know that's a low-hanging fruit question, but given his decisions and lack thereof leading to the crash, 1-pounders if he redeemed himself. It's hard to pinpoint since Jimmy is such an unreliable narrator.
We covered a little. He's a fucking airhead.
Yeah, I think he's just a puppy dog man who doesn't want to get into anything uncomfortable.
Yes, and as far as do I think he redeemed himself?
No.
I don't think that. I think he was stripped of the chance to redeem himself.
I think he was.
I think he missed the opportunity.
He chose a path and he saw it to completion. The path of I don't know, it's not my problem.
Hands off, and I'll just fucking hang out.
Yeah. Overall, an unlikable douche who is a little bit sympathetic because you go, you're a good guy. You need to fucking perk up a little bit.
It's one of those things where you go, yeah, man, you don't deserve. He doesn't deserve to be a quadruple amputee with no skin and one eye. You know what I mean? Doesn't deserve that. But also, it's like, man, you could have fucking, you know what I mean? You got to fucking stand up for yourself, and you got to fucking
stand for the people around you when you are in a place of authority.
When it's your job to protect them.
Yeah. Playstar at Playstar Rocker. 2 questions. How bored were you when you had to play that one sneaking section? I was very bored. An absolute low point in an otherwise great game. And do you know how fish is made? Well, first question. Yeah, a little bit bored. Like I said before, I didn't love that section.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But I don't know if bored's the right word. It wasn't my favorite section. You know what I mean?
It was just mildly frustrating in an experience where otherwise I felt like I was moving so smoothly.
Yes.
And that's a difficult thing where I go, if they took that out, would I have thought, good game, but man, it was like a little too easy almost. Or I just felt like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yes.
Do you need, and then at what point do you figure out how much, like, where does friction fit into a very linear narrative experience where the other scenes are so directed, to the point where it's like you have one choice or you can go this far and then it's going to stop.
Yep.
You're very limited in choice and it's so buttery smooth. You're just going through. And then to have something that goes, all right, figure this out now. So,
I think that's the biggest thing is that like it takes you out of it a little bit. You know what I mean? It can take you out of like the mood that they've otherwise set for the rest of it. But it's like,
isn't that crucial to enjoying the mood, not having you get sick of it?
Yeah, I think you need it. I think you got to break up the monotony. Because it's like we said earlier, where like there are so many other games in this style that have no replayability value and even get boring quickly because it's just like you said, that code scanner would be the whole fucking mechanic of that game. Or like that one
code scanning everything every 3 minutes,
or that one sneaking section would be the whole fucking game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that they didn't do that is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I don't love those sections, but also
we needed them, I think.
And maybe they could have done something that I would have liked more.
Yeah. But I don't know what that is.
I'm not the only player. You know what I mean? Hey.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you what that was, so hey, good job.
And the other question was, do you know how fish is made? Which brings us to how fish is made. And then there was a little expansion called The Last One and Another One. Mm-hmm. How Fish is Made is the first game from Wrong Organ, and you are a fish. You drop down a shaft.
Yep.
Another fish goes, oh,
Are you going up or down?
Up or down?
I said up, and then you're gonna run into more fish who try to be like, it's definitely up, it's definitely down.
Yes,
and they'll ask you questions where you can lie to them, or you can tell them the truth, or you can
they're asking you, should I go up or down? And then almost all of them are either like everything's great, or everything's terrible, or I'm clearly in peril, but I'm in denial that I'm in peril.
Yeah.
There's a fish who's like caught up in one of the
it's like
a 6-pack.
Yeah, 6-pack rings.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, it's my throne. No, it doesn't hurt me at all." And you hear him choking.
Yeah, you're like,
it's all red through subtitles.
Yeah, but you're like, isn't that uncomfortable? And he's like, no, my throne, not at all.
Yeah, you know.
And he's also an idiot. You know what I mean? Like the way he's talking to you,
right?
He's just saying the wrong words and stuff, and it's very funny.
And you know, there's a bunch of scenarios that you hit, and so this is like a little prequel to Mouthwashing. I don't know if we said this on camera, but you know, Anya, you mentioned her office.
Oh yes, she has a book that's called like the Up or Down: The Illusion of Choice. You know, that's the whole game.
Yeah.
Of how fish is made. Because then, I mean, I've only played through it once. What did you choose when you did it?
I chose up.
You chose up as well. Okay. I imagine if you go down, the same fucking thing happens. You know what I mean? Ultimately, we don't know because neither of us did that, I suppose.
Right.
But the implication seems to be.
The implication is that
it does not matter.
You wind up in the same place either way.
Yes. Which is being ground into fish guts. You know what I mean? They're being formed into this amalgam.
Right. And so you finish the first one, and then there's a little addition where it's like Katamari.
Yeah. Katamari fish.
And you're rolling around, you're picking up these corpses of other fish, and you go through you just go through a little course, but throughout the course you see Jimmy, and you talk, or Curly, and you talk to Curly a few times. Mm-hmm. You go like through his colon, it seems, and coming out of his mouth.
No, that's the...
Or is that in Mouthwashing?
That's in Mouthwashing, yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember...
there's a similar scene.
Yes, but in Mouthwashing, there is a very specific moment where I was like, ooh, and I've entered an asshole, and then you come out of Curly's mouth. And
okay.
I'm like,
I think there's also an asshole in...
There is also an asshole in that, but you don't exit it. You have to you go right back out the same way. You like find the birthday cake with the fish eating it.
Right.
And then you have to come right back out. I just played these games yesterday.
Yeah, me too. So... Very similar in terms of the themes and overall like content of the story, you know, between these two games. Whereas, you know, Mouthwashing is made 2.5 hours. This is a 25-30 minute experience.
Oh yeah, max.
It's much more heavy-handed. It's everyone is like a much bigger caricature of themselves. You can see all these different ideologies, but it's something I really like. It's you know, similar to some of my favorite, you know, fictional stories where like you can see that each character is like an allegory for a worldview or perspective.
Yes.
And how they all kind of respond to the situation they're in. That's a great way to tell a story.
My favorite of the fish that you come across in How Fish is Made is the one you come across right at the end. It's like right before you go. And he's like, I've been waiting here the whole time. I've been counting them. I don't think it makes any difference. You want to know how many went? And then he tells you, and you make the decision. And he goes, I'll go with you. Do you want me to go first? I'll tell you the first thing I see. And then you're like, sure. And he's like, oh, look at us. Look at us, a couple friends fucking doing this together. And you're like...
Reminds me of like John Candy for some reason.
Yeah, but it's like a very like... It is just like that dumb, friendly, happy guy that you see, you know what I mean? Like Champ Kind from...
And he goes in.
You know, yeah. And he goes, all right. Oh, it's soft. It's...
There's also a...
Which I've just... Oh, I'm going in. Oh, it's soft. Oh. And it's over.
Yeah.
And then I have to apologize. And I say, this doesn't happen every time, I swear to God.
There's also a fish that has like some sort of like parasite that like ate the tongue of the fish, and the parasite like does a little show tune for you.
Yes. That was very fun.
Very good.
And then if you try to go back and talk to him, he goes, okay, yeah, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Go on. Get out.
Yeah. Very, very thought-provoking games. I think, you know, what I was saying to you online was like, this idea of, you know, well, I mean, all the actual social application stuff, you know, like how do you confront an abuser?
Yeah.
You know, that's still something that I, in my own life, have struggled to understand how to navigate effectively, and to feel like am I doing enough? I, what, you know?
Well, and the problem is with a lot of questions like that is like a lot of time there isn't one answer. You know what I mean? So
it's really case by case.
Yeah, and so it's hard to like. You just have to fucking navigate it, like you do with most things in life.
So that, I mean, that's definitely a powerful thing to discuss and talk about. But beyond that, the idea of like, you know, freedom of choice, and are your actions predetermined? Do you have free choice? You know, that's all stuff that, like, I remember when I was like in school, like kids were debating that, because there were, I went to a Christian school for
I went to Catholic
high
school.
Mm-hmm. It's like a regular topic of conversation, and it's something I've personally had to just come to peace with, not knowing and feeling like, whatever. And the game, I what I was saying to you is, like, even though I'm like those big questions, I'm not really like bothered by. I don't have like an existential crisis.
They're not things you're struggling with anymore.
No, I just kind of accept my place in the kind of like pointlessness of it all, and I that's, there's a lot of beauty to be found, and that's that. I don't know. It's just like, and there's good times and bad times, and it's it.
I mean,
but
the
game, I think, does a good job at momentarily like loosening your grip on those things, and putting you in a more uncertain space mentally as you experience the story, because it's like it's a very effective storytelling. It is kind of like, I think you said, it makes you kind of revisit things you haven't thought about in a while.
Where it's like you've as we get older, we come across these points or hopefully you come across these points in this life where you have to confront these things, and you have to kind of be like, okay, either I have to come to terms with this thing, I have to figure out why I feel this way about this thing, or else I'm going to be trapped in this feeling forever.
Yeah.
And hopefully you do, and you get out of it, you know what I mean? But then, like, a lot of times once you get out of it, that's that. You know what I mean? And unless someone
there's no greater thing.
Yeah.
You just kind of be like, okay.
Yeah, that's that. It's just kind of over. And until you play a game like this, or you interact with someone else going through a similar thing, you know what I mean? Or someone brings it up, you don't think about it. And then when you have to revisit it, sometimes it is kind of like, ooh, that was uncomfortable when I had to do that before. It makes me feel weird again. You know what I mean? It makes you go, ooh, I don't like that feeling.
Gives you a little chill.
Yeah.
Very effective art.
Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 out of 10 game.
Totally.
For sure. I'd give
one of the best games I played last year.
Oh, for sure. It's one of the only games I played this year. New, you know what I mean?
Now.
Best game of the year for me so far.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Fucking really, 10 out of 10. Play Mouthwashing.
Yeah, play it.
It's a few hours. It's worth it.
And, of course, a big thanks to all our supporters over on Patreon, our channel members here. We're going to have your names scrolling through at the end of this 10-hour video.
Big thanks.
Big thanks coming soon. And stay tuned for something about Survivor.
And stay tuned for a very special 50th Yeah I've Played.
Oh, yes. Bye.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Eat shit.